Before we get into today's regularly scheduled commitment episode, we have a little special treat here today. We have producer and director of the upcoming The Muppet script, Matt Wilkie, with us today.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Matt. How are you
Hi.
doing?
Good. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm a fan of the pod, so happy to be here.
Happy to have you. I introduced it as if everyone should just know what the Muppet script is, because I want you to tell people what the Muppet script is, how it came to be, what it's like working on it, and ultimately what you hope it is going to be on February 9th.
Excellent. Yeah. So the Muppet script is a special live show and live streamed presentation. We are going to be doing a live stage reading of the script to the original Muppet movie. And we have a lot of really cool guest stars that are going to be playing the roles. We're going to have live music. It's going to be provided by Off Book, the improvised musical, which is a great team. I've been friends with them for years. And we finally found a really cool project to work on together. We are having special guests and like lots of really fun stuff. It's a project that I've had the idea for a long time. It's something that I thought would be really fun to do, but especially right now, I want to really emphasize that this is a fundraising event. And I live in Los Angeles, and here in California, we've been having a lot of wildfires, a lot of weather that has been affecting our communities around here. And I'm sure you guys have been following the news. A lot of people were affected by it. And so I wanted to do something to help the community, to bring people together a little bit, and to bring some joy and some comfort right now for people who are going through a lot of things. So I reached out to a organization. They're called Give Directly. They specifically help low-income families around the world, and they are doing a drive specifically for the victims of the wildfires. They have a goal of raising $1 million, and they're about halfway to that goal. And so my hope is to get as many tickets. I mean, if we can get them all the way to that million, that'd be great. I don't have that high hopes, but
2 million.
I know
We're doing 2 million.
Let's do it.
That commitment bump.
The commitment bump in full effect. Yeah.
Yes, please. So we have a theater in Los Angeles that I love dearly. It's called the Dynasty Typewriter. There have been a lot of really fun events there that I've been to over the years. And I reached out to the theater a few weeks ago. I said, this is my idea. This is where we would donate. This is the people that I think I can get involved. And the theater has been amazing at encouraging it. And has been really putting the nails to me, though, because this all came together. By the time the show comes out, it'll be about a 3.5 week period from pitching to performing. But what is amazing about that is all of the performers that I've reached out to have done everything they could to rearrange their schedules, to work hard. I really am absolutely blessed with so many people in this cast, and so many people that love the Muppets and love LA and want to do whatever they can to help.
Can you tell us some people who are in the cast?
I absolutely can. Yeah. So right now, if you go to the Dynasty Typewriter website, by the time this airs, we will have most of the cast announced. But we have some truly great Muppet fans in the cast as well. People who've worked with the Muppets before. So playing Doc Hopper, we have Bobby Moynihan.
Oh, wow.
Playing his sidekick Max, we have Griffin Newman from
that's
really
good casting.
Amazon.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah. Very excited about those two. For our Gonzo, we have a friend of mine that I worked with on Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. It's David Dasmalchian.
Oh, wow.
Who is an amazing guy, is such a sweet man, has been doing so much to help promote and spread the word on this, and is a weirdo. He's an absolute weirdo. And when I had the thought of this show, he was the first person that I thought I'm going to reach out. I'm going to see if he wants to play Gonzo, and he's over the moon. He's so excited about it. We also have in our cast playing the fabulous Miss Piggy. We have Drag Race superstar Nina West. Big fan of Nina. I've loved her for years. I love her voice, and she has been just completely blown away. She answered my emails. Actually, fun fact. I reached out to her management because I don't know her personally. And that same night, I'm sitting on the couch next to my wife on the phone, and I'm looking through Instagram, and all of a sudden I see Nina West like your photo. Nina West like your photo. Nina West has started following you. You have a DM from Nina West. And my wife is like, did we just watch her slip into your DMs?
You're like, we have our Miss Piggy.
Yes, locked in. It was such a cool little moment for the two of us to share. And then we have playing the furry, funny Fozzie Bear, Paul F. Tompkins,
which is just
I'm losing my mind.
Magnificent casting there.
Yes, truly, we have a stacked cast. But enough about Nina West. Let's keep talking.
You have to tune in to find out who Kermit is. Is that right?
So Kermit is we have not announced him yet. He is going to be. We're working on a couple things. We want to kind of like make a little bit of a bigger announcement for Kermit because it's a big role. It's one that we worked hard to get right. Kermit is. He's my personal hero. He really truly is. He and of course Jim Henson. I have such a love for Kermit, and I wanted somebody whose kindness and joy and just his desire to spread happiness. And so we'll have that announcement up soon.
Okay, I'll do it. You convinced me.
Sam, thank you.
When I hear all those other names, the next logical name I think in my head is Sam Schultz.
Yeah, well, yeah.
We're
Welcome
all
to my
saying
world.
it. Water cooler talk.
A lot of people are talking about this. Sam
Yeah,
Schultz.
it's only really that, travel from Montana to California is so difficult.
I get it.
If you go to watch, if you see somebody else announced as Kermit, Sam just couldn't make the trip, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a shame. I said travel by map, but I guess you didn't listen.
And how can people check this out?
Yes. So you can go to the Dynasty Typewriter website. We'll have the link up there for tickets, and that will also take you to the live stream tickets. As of this moment, we are sold out of in-person tickets, which has been a bittersweet thing for me, because if I could, I would have everyone in Los Angeles come to this. I wish I had more seats. But the great news is that they are a terrific live stream venue. They have done a lot of shows. For example, a friend of the podcast, Patrick Kotner, who produces the George Lucas talk shows. They have live streams as well, and they're really developing a lot of cool things with their live streams. Patrick just did a script reading for Revenge of the Sith. And during that, if you watched the live stream, you would see a giant lightsaber fight that's happened outside of the theater. They started on the stage, they went outside, they did a whole thing, and the cameras just followed them. And so they're like really playing around with the idea of like, what is live stage and live stream, and how can we kind of combine those two? Cool. I love them so much. So on their website there, you'll have the live stream link. And if you buy tickets to the live stream, you don't need to watch it live. The link will work for, I believe, up to 2 weeks or more after the show airs. So you don't need to worry. What's really cool is that, I know I can't really say the word Super Bowl. If you want to bleep it, go ahead. But it's the night of the big game, and so we're kind of encouraging folks,
counter programming.
Yeah. So we're kind of saying to folks, after the big game, come watch the big show and come see the Muppets. And so it will air. I know in Los Angeles it's about 7:30 p.m. and that should be after the Super Bowl's over. So same thing on the West Coast or on the East Coast, and all over the world.
Good, that big Venn diagram crossover of football fans and Muppet fans. You
You
got to
know?
cater to
You
them
know?
for sure.
Well, yeah, definitely everyone go check out dynastytypewriter.com to get your tickets, watch the live stream. Friend of the show, Hal Lublin, is in the cast as well, which is very exciting.
I'll give you guys a scoop on that one. So
Ooh.
Hal Lublin and Mark Gagliardi, who I absolutely love from Thrilling Adventure Hour, big fan of them for years. They're going to be playing Statler and Waldorf.
I was hoping you would say that.
Yes. And they are over the moon to do it. They're such big Muppet fans. And so, I mean, like I said, everyone on the cast is. Everyone has been like, who do you want me to play? That? Okay, yes, I'm in. Yes.
Well, amazing. I can't wait to watch it, and hope everyone can go get a live stream ticket and not only watch a fun show, but also support a great cause.
Exactly. And if you can't make it to the live stream, and if for some reason you're listening to this and you're not a Muppet fan,
get out.
Please consider donating just on your own, because it really is a great cause, and we really want to help out the LA community right now.
That's awesome. Yeah. So you can find it at dynastytypewriter.com, or I'm sure we've probably shared links to it on our social media things.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Yeah, be sure to check it out.
Yeah, thanks, Matt, for joining us today.
Thank you guys so much for having me, and hello to all the listeners. Thank you guys.
Why are there so many shows starring Muppets and dozens of movies too? They said they'd watch everyone and they mean it. It's something that they've got to do. So now they pledge you a lifelong commitment. Muppets, Matthew and Sam.
Welcome to Commitment, the podcast where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets.
I don't like how you said that.
I just felt like it needed to be different.
Uh-huh.
I was listening back to some old episodes, and I heard myself say it in a different way.
Yeah.
That I don't know if I can recapture, but I feel like I come in so hot.
Was it like
time.
an early episode where you said it?
It was pretty. Way? It was like episode 40, I think.
Okay.
So it was just like, welcome to Commitment, the podcast, and I was like, whoa, who's that calm gentleman?
I think people like it that you say it the same way every single time.
Welcome to Commitment, the podcast where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets.
Yeah. You got to get the energy up for that 30 seconds, and then the rest of the episode we can be taking a nap.
Peak. We got to peak both audibly and energy. Early on.
Exactly.
I am Matthew Gatos.
Oh, I still have to say this part. I'm Sam Schultz.
We didn't introduce ourselves, and people could be confused.
We've completely screwed up the beginning of the podcast.
Well, maybe now it's all uphill. From here.
It's like how you're supposed to like walk a different way home every so often. You know what I mean? It's like good for your brain to like take a different path.
Maybe that's what I was trying to do, Sam. I was just trying to keep our brains engaged as we become older gentlemen. Instead of doing crosswords, we just say our podcast different. Well, we are here today, as you may have figured out from the title of this episode, to catch up on a bunch of stuff that we have either missed over the last 4 years or stuff that has been found in the time since we last did one of these catch-up episodes. And this time we actually found so many new things to dive into that we have enough to do 2 catch-up episodes. So this week we will be catching up on things from 1962 to 1979, and next week we'll do another catch-up episode featuring things from 1980 to 1986, and if I'm being honest, most of that is going to be Uncle Traveling Matt postcards.
Okay. That's fine, I guess. I do like from like different countries, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah, so I found out that the one of the things I still need to log in my spreadsheets for this podcast is the entirety of the Jim Henson Company's YouTube channel, which they have uploaded a lot of things like behind the scenes footage and things through the years. And it's great. But in doing some of that, I found that they had almost every Uncle Traveling Matt postcard that wasn't featured on the show itself,
Oh, wow.
including most, if not all, of the UK ones that were unique to the UK series, as well as some that were translated or dubbed. I don't remember. We'll find out when we watch them from the French and German series. So we've got a ton of Uncle Traveling Matt postcards to watch, which I'm sure will be varying degrees of interesting and of quality.
I like that some of the stuff that we found to watch is literally 3 seconds long.
Yeah, the problem is, Sam, I get really in my head when I start thinking about the completionist aspect of this podcast.
Yeah.
And so another thing I was cataloging this time to make sure we didn't miss any were Macy's Thanksgiving Day parades. And so I was going through Muppet Wiki's page of all the details they have of all of the Macy's Day parades and what happened at all of those. And so I was like, I am going to find every Macy's Day float, even if they're exactly the same every year. It's the same Sesame Street float with the same puppets.
And they were.
Just driving by for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
I'm going to make us watch it. And so there are a couple where it literally is 4 seconds of a float driving by. So
Or the Kermit balloon, which isn't a Muppet and probably doesn't count.
Well, I think that one, it's the last thing we'll talk about this week, but it is interesting because of what happened that year in the parade that we don't get to see.
Did he die or something? Did Kermit?
Yes, Kermit's dead.
Did he deflate?
No. It's more of Muppets did a lot of other fun stuff that year in the parade.
Oh, that's too bad.
But yet the only footage we have is 3 seconds of the Kermit balloon.
Weird. And thinking about how that even came to be what we have. Why did someone even bother to upload that to YouTube?
Well, and it is interesting too, because some of these I found because people had recorded the entire Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade and uploaded the entire thing to YouTube. And I am very grateful for those people because it's very easy to scroll through and find
a Muppet. They're
all
very
the Sesame
brightly
Street
colored,
stuff.
pretty easy to spot Kermit.
Yeah, and for a few years it looked like Sesame Street was kind of the last float pre-Santa.
Oh yeah, that's what happened in one of these clips, at least I think.
Yeah, there was a time where in watching these I learned that Bullwinkle was a lot of the times the last balloon that would go through, and then there would be a Sesame Street float, and then Santa.
How far Bullwinkle has fallen? He's not even in the parade anymore, I would imagine, right?
I can't imagine.
Bullwinkle?
It's been a while, probably since he was in there.
Yeah.
What if you had to guess?
I mean,
when do you think the last time the Bullwinkle balloon was in the Macy's parade?
So it's already amazing that he was in the parade that much farther, like after that long of a time. And maybe I think they maybe made a new Bullwinkle balloon for the movie or something like that. I'm not counting that. So the last time the original, that Bullwinkle balloon we're seeing where he has the striped pajamas on, was in the parade, was 1978.
It looks like maybe 1983 is when that one was retired.
Wow. Held on for a while.
But yes, there was a Rocky and Bullwinkle balloon used later on as recently as 2000. And I will say between 2003 and 2007, the balloon was inflated at Universal Orlando for their seasonal Balloonopolis attraction. But yes, as far as the striped swimsuit one that we see in this, apparently gusty winds affected the 1982 parade and as a result caused problems with many of the balloons.
Oh no.
Ever his clumsy self, Bullwinkle, the first balloon in the lineup, he was first this time, collided with trees along Central Park West, and then he had a deflated nose and eventually had to be pulled off the line a few blocks shy of the finish line.
That's too bad. And he never came back, huh?
Well, he did return the following year, apparently repaired, and it was able to not deflate that year. But after that, they decided to, for some reason, permanently retire it. And so it sat deflated and dormant at Macy's Parade Studio in Hoboken, New Jersey for several years. And then they considered flying it again, but they found too many leaks. And so they didn't, I guess.
What, they shred him or something like that?
In February 2000, Sam, a quality control test was conducted on the balloon, revealing its declining state. Several parts of the balloon, including its heads, antlers, arms, and legs, which I gotta say is pretty much all of that balloon.
That's everything but his torso, right?
had begun to deteriorate.
Oh,
The report
no.
addressed further issues with the balloon, including diffusion and damage to its paint and rip panels.
I would imagine.
Ultimately, Bullwinkle was cut into swatches and was disposed of alongside several other Goodyear balloons in 2005.
That sucks for him.
I want to hear like a 10 episode long podcast of interviews with the people who do that job.
That
because
does sound crazy.
They have a Macy's Parade studio in Jersey, which sounds great. But the fact that they considered flying this dude in 96 and they're like, yeah, I don't think he's up for it. They waited 4 years to do a stress test and they're like, ooh, yeah, no, this ain't no
He's in
good.
tough shape.
And then waited 5 years to cut him up and get rid of him.
Not a lot of urgency going on over at Macy's Incorporated. Must be a big warehouse.
Oh, I'm going to bookmark this. I did find a behind the scenes look at the Macy's Parade Studio video on YouTube. That's what you do when you're a 37-year-old man. You get excited about balloon videos.
Specifically when you're Matt.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll own that. Well, before we get into talking about all the balloons that we saw today, Sam, just want to do a little bit of a regular checkup here. How you doing?
I think about with the podcast, you mean?
You know what? However you want to take that question.
I'm doing good. I'm doing good with the old podcast. It's nice to shake off the Muppet Babies for a little while. It's nice to see some old friends. It's nice to meet the meanest Muppet we've ever met. I think of any Muppet ever. The only evil,
but also maybe the coolest Muppet.
the only evil Muppet we've ever seen. But yeah, I'm feeling good. There was just sometimes when I was watching the 3-second thing where I'm like, what are we doing here?
But it is only 3 seconds of your life, Sam.
I know.
So that's why I feel
a
little bad.
Clicking, more with the clicking.
Yes, it takes more time to click through and load the link than to actually watch the video.
But I guess the important thing is if our heads were cut off and our brains were taken out and someone looked at them and they said, did these guys really watch every Muppet thing? And they could look into the brain, then they would say, well, shit, they sure did. Couldn't have done much better than that. Except they'd say, but Sam didn't watch that one episode of Hollywood Squares with Oscar the Grouch in it.
I legitimately thought about adding it to the watch list this week.
You should, because I don't remember it until we start recording.
Trick you.
And then I'm like, oh, fuck, dude. Yeah, you could have got me pretty good if you had made me talk about it like we had never watched it before. And then at the end, you'd been like, haha, actually.
Yeah, I thought about adding it in there as like, I found this new episode of Hollywood Squares we should check out. And then,
Oscar's back. Gotcha. Interesting.
I had the problem of in putting this list together, I'm starting to watch things and not remember whether or not I have seen some of them. Partially because there are things we watched this week that we had seen shorter versions of or a clip from.
Right.
And so I was starting to lose it a little bit of like, have we actually watched this whole thing and we're watching it again?
With the two British talk shows in particular, like you put a note that's like, we watched some of this before. You could have put that on every single one of the things on this list, and I would have been like, shit, I guess we did. I remember that.
Yeah. Well, and also the two British talk show things that are a year apart are almost weirdly identical in their own like presentation. And so they also feel like a repeat of each other. What I'm saying is, I think we're losing it a little bit. we're Ouroboros-ing ourselves here.
Well, when it comes to like, it's like that thing where you're like, you take one step and then you take half of that step and then you take half of that step, and it's like infinite. Like you never get to the place where you're going if you travel half as far as you did the time before each time, and eventually so on our journey to watching everything, every incremental thing we watch will be smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller.
Ooh,
basically
boy.
We're going to be doing this forever until you're like, I found one frame from I found the final frame we needed to this interview for, But I mean, I think it's okay to be losing it a little bit. I think there's some rock solid things we know are going to happen, like Muppet Babies, and then we just got to sweep up the rest of this stuff and enjoy it as we can.
And I will say it is greatly appreciated to those of you out there who are doing the hard work of acquiring, uploading, skirting YouTube copyright laws to bring these things to us. And another big thank you to those in the Discord who bring these things to our attention, because I only search for these things usually when I am doing one of these catch-up episodes. I go back and start looking on YouTube, just Jim Henson, Muppets, uploaded this year kind of things. But we have some people in our Discord who are great about bringing things to our attention.
It's certainly not a one-man job. If Matt was doing this by himself, the podcast would be over by now.
It'd be very boring, too, if I was just talking to myself the whole time.
Well, I mean, it's you. You need all the help of all your little elves, you know?
And the elves help me feel at least pretty comfortable that I'm not missing big, important things along the way.
Right.
Which is always my fear as we get into the late 80s here, when they start to do a lot more with VHS tapes and all these things, that we're going to get 20 episodes in and somebody's going to say, wait a minute, you're done with 1988. What about these 50 things you didn't find? I try to stay on top of things, but Muppet Wiki is very good and is constantly adding things that they find and learn about. And I'm not regularly going back and updating my spreadsheets to match Muppet Wiki because that would be insane. So I trust the people in our Patreon Discord to keep me up to date when big important things are found, or if we have missed something.
We stand on the shoulders of giants, basically. And that giant is Muppet Wiki.
That is absolutely true. Without Muppet Wiki, this podcast absolutely would not exist. Or it would have been over by now because we would have watched everything we could think of.
I'm going to go back in time and destroy Muppet Wiki.
Yeah, we would have watched Muppets Most Wanted or something already.
Losers. What losers we would be in this universe.
We'd be done with commitment. We'd have nothing to talk about.
I wouldn't have anything going on.
Well, my last little note before we get into discussing all the things we found this week, I just wanted to mention that I recently revamped commitment.com.
Looks great.
A little bit. Thanks. I didn't ask you at all before doing it.
No,
I'm sorry.
I saw it today on the Discord. I was like, well, goddamn, he sure did. Looks beautiful.
Yeah, I just wanted to clean up the little website a little bit and put everything there that people might want from a commitment website. So there's the latest episode, listenable at the very top. The most recent episodes are listed there. And I'm trying to, as we go forward with any new episodes that we add, they will have the watch list linked there on the episode page. So if you don't follow us on Twitter or Blue Sky or Instagram, and you don't see that we post the list of things that we watch every week, where you can also go watch them, those will now be available at commitment.com. If you go seek out the episodes, I guess asterisks here, those are being added to the new episodes. They're not on every episode as of right now. Okay. Maybe someday they will be, but it'd be a lot of work to go back through 166 episodes and paste a bunch of links that probably don't even exist anymore because they've all been deleted from YouTube.
Yeah.
It is kind of sad sometimes. I will, when doing these episodes, I'll go back into our old stuff and try to find certain episodes or things that we missed that I'm like, maybe somebody uploaded this. And along the way, maybe I'll bring up like a playlist of Jimmy Dean's to see what we watched before. And so often I will open up one of the old playlists from one of our first, 50 episodes or something. And there's like 2 videos in there. And I know for sure there was probably like 15 videos in that playlist when we watched it forever ago. So yeah, we can say that the watch list will be there for the episodes, but we cannot guarantee that the links will work forever. That being said, we did watch a bunch of stuff this week. So Sam, what was that stuff? What did we watch?
First, we watched some commercials made in 1962 for the Citizens Advisory Committee on Highway Safety, starring Billy and Sue, a do-gooder brother and sister duo, and Sneagle, a nasty little freak who loves to get hit by cars and tailgate. We watched a longer film starring the same characters, made for maybe the National Council of Churches,
that is correct.
In which Sneagle convinces Billy not to share his shovel with Sue as they play in the sandbox, and then Billy and Sneagle dig a hole so deep that they can't get out, and they need Sue to save them. Sounds like something that a church group would have made to me. Not really exactly sure I could put my finger on the moral, except don't be greedy. Then we watched 3 new Rowlf segments from the Jimmy Dean Show. The first, from October 17th, 1963, sees Rowlf lamenting the unrequited love he's developed for a cat. The second, from November 7th, 1963, finds Rowlf trying to lose some weight. And the third, from November 14th, 1963, Rowlf is freezing his ass off, so Jimmy gives him some warm weather clothes. Next, we watch some footage and a news report of the first Sesame Street live tour from September 1st, 1970. It's just sort of several minutes of the human cast and Big Bird running around and screaming, and then cutaway shots of some less than enthusiastic looking children. Then we watched more live Sesame Street from July 23rd, 1972. In this clip, Big Bird tries conducting an orchestra, but his inability to count does not do him any favors. Then, sometime in 1973, we see Big Bird made an honorary citizen of Knoxville, Tennessee by Mayor Kyle Testerman. We also watched some brief footage of the Sesame Street float in the 1974 and 1976 Thanksgiving Day parades. The Macy's Thanksgiving Day parades, to be precise. On September 22nd, 1977, the Muppets appeared on Russell Hardy, a talk show that aired on the British television station ITV. Jim, Frank, Kermit, Fozzie, and Piggy appear to talk about the art of puppetry and the Muppet Show, and the whole thing is kind of your run-of-the-mill, slightly awkward television interview conducted by somebody who's maybe not the best at talking to puppets. Then, on November 18th, 1978, Jim and Frank appear on Parkinson, which is a BBC talk show hosted by Michael Parkinson, which aired against Russell Hardy, so kind of like the Letterman to his Leno kind of situation.
Oh, so they went on a competing show and did the same
And did
thing.
almost exactly the same thing. Yeah, so this interview, in my opinion at least, is more fun than Hardy's, once the puppets come out especially, as it is unclear how much of a joke it is when Michael Parkinson tells Piggy that she's hot, and then everybody starts goofing on Michael Parkinson's toupee-looking hair, which is not allegedly not a toupee, but I'm bad at telling what is and isn't a toupee. Was that a toupee, you think?
I don't think so, because I think we talked about that. This is one of the things that we saw a clip of
right.
before. I think it was in a best of Parkinson clip, so we only saw a couple minutes.
That makes sense.
But I think we saw Fozzie calling him out for a toupee at one point, and I think we decided then, based on older pictures of Michael Parkinson, that it probably wasn't a toupee.
I think he was hanging on to that Beatles hair, I think was the thing. Then
it's just swooping in like too many directions.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And it was too many different colors and stuff. He has weird hair, that's for sure. Then we watched part of the 1978 Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, this time co-hosted by future Muppet Show guest Linda Lavin, where we see the Kermit balloon and the Sesame Street float briefly. Then we see a very sedate, chilled Kermit giving a charmingly... I changed the order because I was getting confused by how it was 1985 when Kermit was talking in that
Yes. I put it 1979 because that's when the exhibit started.
Right. But I was doing the math while he was talking, being like, okay, Muppets, whatever, this just came out. Then we watched a very sedate, chilled out Kermit giving a charmingly straightforward interview to British journalist Peter Sissons? How would you say that?
I would say Sissons.
On June 1st, 1979, promoting the Muppet movie, which had released in the UK recently, maybe the day before. This is a fun, seemingly unedited interview. I have no idea what show it's for or anything like that. Maybe Matt knows what it's for, but there's no like identification for why he's being interviewed.
I think he was also like an ITV, BBC guy, so I don't know if this was... this does seem like some B-roll that was just...
Right.
Recorded in case someone wanted to use it for something.
Yeah, it kind of seems like Kermit is surprised to be there. He's sort of just like, what? How? Where?
Yeah, like
where
maybe
have I
they
found
pulled
myself?
him in and they're like, hey, you want to do a quick interview? He's like, I guess. And then it's over. He's like, that's it? Sure. I guess we did it. Good job, everyone.
Then we watched a 3-second clip of the Kermit balloon floating at the 1979 Thanksgiving Day Parade.
You're welcome.
We're nothing if not thorough here at Kermitment. Last but not least, we get to the meatiest thing that we watched, the audio walkthrough of the museum exhibit, The Art of the Muppets, which this version of it, at least, is from somewhere around 1985. So it's basically a half hour of Kermit ASMR, where he talks us through a guided tour of the history of the Muppets, from Sam and Friends to Muppets Take Manhattan, telling us how Muppets are made, how they're performed, how special effects shots are done, and more. It's like our podcast, but 168 episodes shorter and hosted by Kermit.
So don't go listen to it, is what we're
Yeah,
saying,
ignore
because
it.
What you need is 166 episodes.
Yeah.
You don't need just one 30-minute clip of Kermit.
It's not super fun and charming, and you won't learn everything you really practically need to know about Muppets from it.
And he doesn't say anything about having sex with Miss Piggy.
He doesn't mention it once.
But yeah, if you're counting the timelines here, I did say we were catching up on everything until 1979, and I put that in there because the Art of the Muppets exhibit opened in 1979. But yes, this clip at the end of it, well, one, as you watch it, you can tell he's talking about things that are definitely happening after 1979.
Like Fraggle Rock.
But also at the very, very end in the credits, it says recorded at Christmas time, 1985, at the Indianapolis Children's Museum
Oh, I
by
totally missed
Rowlf
that.
Gorman.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a weird credit. It said recorded at Christmas time, 1985, by Rowlf Gorman, who also edited it in 2007, it says.
Huh.
So I think maybe he had recorded footage back in the 80s and then later on got access to a high-quality recording of the Acoustic Guide, as Kermit calls it,
Yes.
and edited that all together into a nice little presentation.
It was really nice. This was like a labor of
Mhm.
love. It's
Absolutely.
It's not something that was, like Matt just said, it's not something that was made for the museum. It's two pieces of media. It's just a footage of that display and the walkthrough and Kermit's like narration, but it's matched up actually. So you're getting to see what he's talking about.
I'm wondering if at the time he was listening to the Acoustic Guide while he was videotaping the exhibit. Because I can't imagine another reason people would hang out and videotape a Junior Gorg puppet for so long,
Right.
and have things timed so well.
Oh
to
yeah,
some
that's
of
a good point.
The notes. So I'm
Right.
wondering if he just thought to himself in the 80s to do this.
Yeah, he did it, and then later on he was like, "Oh hey, guess what? I have footage of me doing this." Yeah, and I also like that there's like you can hear the background noise of people talking too.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good.
It's worth noting, too, Rowlf Gorman is not just a man who mysteriously recorded this. He is also a voiceover actor who served as a background puppeteer in 2 Muppet productions as well.
What the heck? Who is this mystery man?
So I didn't look into his voiceover credits, but I did see that he did some background puppeteering on Muppets from Space and The Adventures of Elmo in Grouchland.
Huh.
So he does have Muppet connections, even though I don't believe he had any in 1985 when he recorded this. Well, scrolling all the way back up here to the top of the list, we started off in 1962. I wanted to add some, timeline context to these posts, just so you sort of, as we travel through, you understand what else the Muppets were up to. So 1962, at this point, Sam and Friends had wrapped up the year before, but happening in 1962 is they film The Tales of Tinker D, they make a bunch of Today Show appearances, they do a ton of commercials, and 1962 sees the debut of Rowlf, Baskerville, Tamanella Grinderfall, and King Goshposh.
Wow.
So big year for the Muppets.
Yeah.
And then they also did some church commercials.
Yeah, this is interesting. Do you know anything about how this came about?
So it seems Muppets Inc. was commissioned by the Protestant Radio and Television Center to create a series of short films for the National Council of Churches. The plan was that these would be more than just these 3 things we watched, which we watched the 2 commercials and the short film Billy and Sue. There was also, I found an alternate version of the Billy and Sue short film that had an old man introducing it.
Real old
I
man
think
or a
this-
Muppet old man?
Real old man.
Okay.
And I think that clip I found was from a thing called What is Television, which was a presentation produced by the Protestant Radio and Television Center. And in that one, the only thing that's different is his intro. And the only thing that's really interesting about it, because it's pretty short, is that he says, "We're all kids at heart, and a lot can be said to kids of any age if you use the right language."
Okay.
Which feels to me like some Sesame Street thinking.
Yeah.
About 7 years before
Way
Sesame Street.
beforehand, yeah. You think Jim would have written that?
I don't think so. That
Okay.
seemed like a completely separate thing from what Jim made. I think Jim made these, got paid, and then they put together that TV presentation. But yeah, all these puppets were created for these short films and commercials, Billy, Sue, and Sneagle. I think we've seen at least one of these commercials before when we did our gigantic like 4 hours of commercial
our
watching.
commercial. Yeah.
When we made a lot of mistakes in the early days, and I would put together a playlist of 4 hours of commercials, thinking that somehow we would be able to talk about all of them in earnest.
How long is that episode?
Oh, surprisingly short.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like nowadays, we would talk for 8 hours.
We were very good about not saying a lot, if that makes sense. We didn't have as much knowledge at that point. That was episode 5.
Oh, God.
It is 1 hour and 15 minutes long. To watch so many commercials.
Yeah, and into the 80s and 90s, we were watching Muppets Tonight era stuff.
Yeah, and so I think I wouldn't say that episode is one of our best or most in-depth discussions of the Muppets,
But you should still listen to it anyway.
Absolutely,
It's important.
I listened to it like 20 times in a row. Put it on the background while you fall asleep.
Oh yeah, so we have seen them. They were Shrinkle and Stretchel, Billy and Sue.
Yes, we've definitely seen Billy and Sue, and I think, again, I could be wrong. I think we saw that tailgating PSA in the middle of one of those like 2-hour compilations of commercials. So I think we've seen this before, but it had to have gotten lost in the fray.
Right.
But yes, Billy and Sue go on to appear as the RX twins in the industrial film Shrinkle and Stretchel, where they fight off Tamanella Grindelwald as the evil witch.
Yeah, who wants to make your laundry wrinkly or something like that?
Something like that. We looked it up then and were even confused because it was something about fabrics.
Yeah,
like a certain
it's like
kind of
some product that you don't buy, that like you don't need anymore.
Yeah, it's probably made of asbestos like, completely. But it was fabric that was made that wouldn't wrinkle, I believe, is the whole selling point.
Oh, yeah. And they've popped up a bunch, Billy and Sue.
Mm-hmm. But I think the real highlight here, we can all agree, is Sneagle.
It's gotta be Sneagle.
He looks like a pointy, evil version of Wilkins.
Uh-huh.
Like if you were, obviously Wontkins is the counterpoint to Wilkins. But if you were creating a angel and devil shoulder versions of Wilkins, Sneagle would be a good counterpoint.
We have seen Wilkins shoot people with a gun.
We have.
The worst thing Sneagle has done is like tell a kid not to give his sister a shovel. And the worst thing Wilkins has done is literally shoot someone else.
Okay, maybe it's about presentation.
Yeah.
Then, because Wilkins will be like, "Hey, I'm gonna shoot you in the face,"
and everybody's
like, "Oh, Wilkins,
that guy, we love that guy, don't we?" But Sneagle
comes in and is like, "Don't worry about what your daddy says."
And then we all call the police. Maybe we shouldn't say that. He is interacting with children in a sinister way, which is a different ball of wax than interacting with
just hearing Jim's voice say, "Don't worry about what your daddy said." Jim has never sounded more villainous.
No.
I
think this is the meanest Muppet we've ever met, right?
Maybe most created for evil.
Yeah,
because he's obviously, his whole entire role is the bad influence in church commercials and short films.
Yeah,
so he's supposed to be a little Satan.
He is the most akin to the Prince of Darkness himself in terms of Muppets. Tamanella Grindelwald also invented for evil, but goofier, doesn't usually get away with anything.
Yeah, but I feel like Tamanella on her off days, probably fine.
Yeah.
When she's not playing a witch in a fairy tale,
right?
You could just find her at the grocery store, picking out some melons or lettuce or something like that.
I completely agree with you.
Sneagle is just an asshole all the time.
Yeah, when you see this guy, you're like, oh, God, Sneagle. You see him at the grocery store, shoving a head of lettuce down his pants. You're like, no way. I can't deal with this guy right now.
Why is he doing that?
Stealing it.
Oh, okay. I just thought how he got his jollies or something.
Both. It's both.
I'm getting my jollies, but I also love stealing.
But yeah.
He's like the puppet version in my head on his off days. Sorry for the extremely niche reference. He's like Liz Lemon's first boyfriend, Dennis, on 30 Rock.
Oh, yeah, the guy who's mayhem in those commercials.
Who's just a pice of shit the entire time you see him.
Yeah.
That's what I imagine Sneagle is.
Sneagle's trash. I love when he gets hit by the car. I love...
Yes. So the first things we watched are him trying to get the kids to not use the crosswalk and instead run out between parked cars to jaywalk, which leads to him, of course, getting hit by a car. And we get a wild, amazing close-up shot of his face with spirally eyes. And then Smeagol is tailgating Billy and Sue, who are in a car, and ends up rear-ending them when they come to a stop sign. Their car remains undamaged, by the way, so good
They
job,
have
Billy
the
and Sue's
power
parents.
of God on their side, Matt. And so these were church group related things too, even though they're
I believe the church commissioned them, and the PSAs were made in part with the traffic commission or whatever it was called.
I love how handmade all of these older commercials looked. Like they just were such their own little world. And this car one, especially, like the flats of the cars are so good, and the wheels
The flats are
spinning
good.
around.
The background is great.
The background's great. Yeah.
It looks. Yeah, I don't know. There's something watching these and the Jimmy Dean show. It's hard to not think that Jim peaked really early.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, when things
at
were
least
more when things were more like lo-fi. I don't know if peaked is the right. I mean,
no,
creatively,
peaked maybe as
he
far
was
as
like the most comfortable.
enjoyment.
Yeah, maybe that's the big thing. Is like
he had no he probably had some stress, but as far as it feels like he is not yet stressed about doing this for a job. Like this is just a great way to make a little bit of money, and I get to be on TV. This is amazing.
And like in every single thing, I get to learn and do something a little different, and everybody loves my shit that I'm making. And there's like less stuff to experiment with. Like being in that smaller sandbox seems like it would have been more fun too, where you're just like, because I've been in this, I've probably said this before, but like I've been in this situation you have too, where you're just like, well, I live in Missoula, Montana, and I have to make this thing. And how am I going to do that? I guess I'll just figure it out. And that's fun. And so then when you're like, well, I'm in charge of this whole production studio and computers exist now, and I'm going to really try to do some CGI and stuff like that. It's just like too much to think about.
Well, yeah, we talked before about, that era where Jim realizes how big his company has gotten and starts to be a little uncomfortable with it and doesn't think he's a good boss. And yeah, when you start doing little puppet shows for 5 minutes every night with your girlfriend, and then
that sounds
a couple
nice.
years later, yeah. But then, 20 years later, you have a staff of hundreds on multiple continents.
It's a lesson about capitalism,
and you're having to manage it.
Not everything has to grow for growth's sake. That's what we're learning from Jim Henson.
Yeah, I kind of wish that we'd find out one day that there's this weird little puppet show that gets leaked that Jim secretly made that no one knew about.
He was still
he just made it in his house when camcorders became a thing. He just started making little puppet shows at home and didn't want anybody to know because it was just his little fun project.
He just went down to the basement. He was still doing Sam and Friends throughout his whole career. But yeah.
He just like fully Toy Stories it and dusts off Harry the hipster and it's like, oh, hey friends, how's it been?
Yeah. Not to besmirch anything later. It's all good. But this is really where you can feel it's not the same as like when you watch like Frankenstein or Dracula from like the 40s and you're like, I can imagine in a million years how this could be scary. But you can watch this in the 60s and be like, I could see how if this came on TV, I would lose my freaking mind.
Yeah, especially when we watch the old Today Show bits where I'm like, when we hear the crowd losing their minds at Glowworm.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, right. Because nobody else was doing this kind of thing before.
Yeah.
Watching it now after you've seen Sesame Street for 30 years, of course, it doesn't seem that novel. But yeah, people at the time, it didn't see a frog eating a worm.
And like sometimes Rowlf will just move and everyone will laugh. Eh?
Yeah. Jimmy Dean even will crack up at the smallest thing that Rowlf does.
Because he has two hands? Is that what's getting people? I don't know.
I think they just don't expect a puppet to be that funny.
To be funny. To be genuinely funny.
To have good timing. To improv. Jimmy Dean is clearly caught off guard by any time Jim improvs.
Yeah.
But before we get to that, we got to still talk about Billy and Sue, the short film, where the whole thing is that Billy's just digging a hole in the sandbox. Sue wants to dig too, and she suggests they share one shovel.
What is this about?
Great question. I think sharing and listening to your parents.
Okay.
But yeah, they do kind of mix messages a little bit. It kicks off with Sue saying to Billy, if you don't share your shovel, you're being kind of selfish. And this is when Sneagle shows up. And it feels like Sneagle and Billy already know each other, which is a weird vibe.
Yeah. The Billy we've seen in those commercials is not a Billy who would align himself with the forces of evil in this way that this Billy does so willingly.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think they both don't seem to have a relationship with Sue, whereas in the tailgating one, I felt like Billy and Sue were siblings.
Well, I think they are in this too because their dad seems to be the same dad. I feel like, right? Like,
I guess yeah.
That was my
Did you say
impression.
Daddy said not to dig too deep?
Yes, right.
But it was interesting that when Sneagle shows up, he says, "Hiya, Billy," and Billy says, "Hi, Sneagle."
Yes, they do.
And then
have there's something going on here, is right?
Sneagle just refers to Sue as "Hey, kid."
Yeah. So he knows which of the two of them is swayable. Is the thing. He comes to Billy in his times of weakness and is like, "Hey, you want to smoke a cigarette?" Billy's like, "Fuck yeah, I do."
Billy is easily convinced in these scenarios.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sue tells Sneagle about the sharing plan she devised, and Sneagle is like, what a bad plan. Let her dig with her hands.
I like that comes up later. She's like, dig with my hands. And then later on, she's like, I'm pretty good at digging with my hands, actually.
Yeah, Sneagle just keeps getting to try to get Billy to dig a deeper and deeper hole, and I was feeling like he was going to bury these children in that hole.
Oh, no. I thought you were going to dig to hell or something.
I
think the fact that it was a
what
church.
What are his motivations?
I think the fact that it was a church thing was really like weighing on my mind. Or it was like informing how I was watching it. So I was like, surely eventually they'll pray or something, right? But they never did. One of the comments on the YouTube video is, I kept waiting for it to be about something aside from a shovel, but it's literally just about a shovel.
It's just about a shovel. Yeah. There's not even a moment where Billy's like, it's getting hot down here. I've dug too deep. Instead, Billy just digs so deep that he can't get out of the hole, which, yeah, that's a bad problem to have.
That is kind of like, that's realistic and scary.
Yeah, you could dig yourself a hole so deep you cannot escape.
Oh, I suppose you could dig the wall and then jump and let the dirt go under your feet and then keep doing that. That's what I do.
Yeah, you can make like a staircase out.
That's what I do in this situation.
Well, Billy doesn't think of that. Instead, Sneagle jumps in to help him out. And Sue's like, it's going to cave in on you guys. And then it immediately does. So she has to dig them out using her hands since she doesn't have a shovel. And she does so extremely quickly.
Yeah, the fact that she can do it maybe is the part where I'm like, what's the moral here?
Well, Billy just kind of comes out and is like, yeah, I guess you were right, Sue. Yeah, we shouldn't have dug so deep.
But yeah, it's not about digging deep at the beginning. Interesting.
No, it's about sharing the shovel because the shovel was completely unimportant at the end.
Well, if anybody out there knows what they're trying to tell us, please let me know.
But my favorite part of this is that Sneagle does not learn his lesson and doesn't give a shit that they gotta cave in.
I'll be back. He says literally like, I'll be back, right?
That is my absolute favorite part of this.
Yeah.
The end of this is Sue saying, I bet after today, he won't ever come around here anymore, right? And he goes, wrong, I'll go, but I'll be back.
Yeah, I loved that too. That felt like
so chaotic.
That felt like the little like, I mean, I liked this last thing, but that felt like the Jim Henson chaos, like nothing really matters in a wholesome way kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he couldn't explode anybody because it's a church thing, but he does have the devil say, you ain't getting rid of me.
I'll go, but I'll be back. Yeah, these were great. I love these.
Yeah, it's hard not to enjoy old commercial Jim, even when, at their worst, they're incredibly chaotic and still enjoyable.
Oh, I did have a question. Do you know who voiced any of the other characters?
I don't actually. They don't sound familiar. I guess it could be Jane, but Jane didn't do many voices. So
is Jim Billy
really sure.
or no?
I didn't listen closely
Okay.
enough.
It didn't
But
sound
I'm
like it to
imagining
me,
if he
but
got some,
I don't know.
yeah, if he got some other voices in there, maybe he had, Bob Payne and Jane or somebody else doing voices. But I don't know that there's that much information about these. But then in 1963, it's time for Rowlf on the Jimmy Dean Show. Also happening in 1963 was more Today Show appearances, more commercials. It's the year Frank Oz joins the Muppets to be the right hand of Rowlf. And it's the year that Muppets Inc. moves officially from Washington, D.C. to New York City to be on the Jimmy Dean Show.
And this is the first season of the Jimmy Dean Show, correct?
Yeah, these are episodes
This is like
5,
episode 5.
8, and 9.
Do you remember which episode it was where the Consider Yourself at Home thing was? Like how far into the series that was?
That was episode 4 when they did Consider Yourself.
Okay.
So that was just the episode before Rowlf having a crush on a cat.
Okay. Equally as important a moment.
But yeah, interestingly, there's now only one episode from 1963's Jimmy Dean run that we have not seen.
But it went for more years than just that?
Yeah.
Okay.
But looking at our spreadsheet, Jimmy Dean episodes in 1963, we're only missing
Almost
one.
100%.
But obviously, these are great.
Yeah.
It's Jimmy Dean. It's Rowlf.
There's
one of my
not
biggest
even any
notes.
racism in them, right?
No. I think if you want a not generous reading of the cat one,
Sure.
maybe there's some political undertones
Yeah.
when Rowlf is crying about how he knows it's wrong that he should love a cat.
Okay. Well, man,
It's
maybe you're
not-
right about that.
There's nothing too obvious. Maybe he's not saying anything like that,
Right.
but there's a chance
Yeah.
because of the era that is a layer that's a part of this. But the first episode we watched was episode 105, the 5th episode of the first season of the Jimmy Dean Show from October 17th, 1963. Note about this one, Art Carney is also in this episode. He will go on, obviously, to spend some more time with the Muppets in the future. And we meet Jimmy and Rowlf in this episode after Jimmy is wrapping up a segment with Toots Thellman, a harmonica player.
Great name for a
And-
harmonica. If you're a harmonica player, that's the name you want to have.
Yeah. But this is maybe the calmest we've ever seen Jimmy call out for Rowlf. This time he's just popping out. He's got a flower. He explains to Jimmy it's not puppy love because I'm in love with a cat.
I think that's a good character for. I feel like if Rowlf were gonna get married, it would be really cute if he got married to a cat. Like if he worked at the bar in the new Muppet show, that newer Muppet series with a cat who was his wife.
If he went home and Catgut was his wife waiting for him to come home.
Yeah. Ew. Catgut's just kind of gross looking.
You can have a gross looking wife.
I
That's
suppose,
okay.
I suppose you're allowed to have a gross looking wife, but
But yeah, it turns out this cat actually sought out Rowlf. She was waiting for him outside of the stage door
I
last
forgot
week.
about that part of it. It's not unrequited. He's just kind of ashamed of himself.
Yes, he's ashamed that he has fallen for a
Yeah.
cat because he's sort of betrayed his dog kind.
Right.
We do surprisingly, I think, learn something about Rowlf in this.
What is it?
He says, "Can a dog from the Lower East Side find love with a
yes.
Park Avenue cat?"
I made note of that as well. Is that I don't really know where the Lower East Side is, but
It's not where they filmed Jimmy Dean, which was my first instinct.
Okay.
So this is just Rowlf claiming he lived on the Lower East Side, which I am no New York historian, so I can't say what the general vibe was of the Lower East Side in the 60s.
mm-hmm.
So maybe there's some fun to be had reading into that a bit more. But yeah, we get Rowlf explaining that he is from the Lower East Side. But yeah, other than learning Rowlf's general living situation, we learned that the cat's name is Puff. And then Jimmy and Rowlf sing You're Just in Love, a song by Irving Berlin that was published in 1950 and was made famous in the Broadway musical Call Me Madam.
Never heard of it, have you?
Nope.
Okay.
This was brand new to me.
Just a nice little Rowlf thing. Just one of the best things ever put on television is all.
Which you can say about almost every non-racist Jimmy Dean and Rowlf segment.
Yeah, that's the real distinction. That's the line. Is it incredibly offensive?
Yeah.
No. Then it's the best thing that's ever one of the best things ever on TV.
If you click the link and Rowlf's wearing a headdress, back away.
Yeah, don't watch that one. But
No.
I mean, the amount that he loves Rowlf, I can't believe it. How does he love Rowlf that much? And there's one of
You
these, I don't
would
remember which one it
too.
is, but Rowlf appears at the beginning in
Yeah.
all of them. Rowlf usually appears. Oh yeah, I think it is. And it's not this one. In some of them, Rowlf appears at the beginning, but in one of them, a lady like starts petting him on the head. There's just something about him. Everybody loves him.
There's a way, and I don't have a better word than manhandle, but the way Jimmy Dean manhandles Rowlf
Yeah,
is like he has a real
like
dog
you have,
there.
yeah. When you have a dog and you're like, you little
Yeah, you just
rascal, and
scritch their
you're
face
pulling
up
on
and
their
scratch their ears.
stuff.
And
Exactly.
like we have seen a couple examples, I feel like, when he's looked over the bench and sort of addressed
Yeah.
Jim in a little bit.
Yeah.
But for the most part, he is dealing with Rowlf eye to eye,
Yeah.
addressing him as if Rowlf just made that joke, not Jim.
Yeah. And again,
And
it's like, it's not Jim peaking early in this situation. It's like the human interaction with Muppets peaked early in this moment, where every other
Yeah.
person, like everybody you see interview, every Muppet after this is never going to be as good as Jimmy Dean talking to Rowlf.
Well, and it's amazing to think that, you know, not that long before this, were things like Kukla, Fran, and Ollie were sort of the only examples of humans and puppets really
Yeah.
doing things together. And so to do this so early on and to do it so well, so consistently for so long is a little bit of a miracle.
Yeah.
But the next one we watched was from November 7th, 1963, episode 8 of the first season of The Jimmy Dean Show.
Rowlf's got a gun in this one.
Yeah, in the opening of the episode, which I think we had theorized at one point. We were talking about Rowlf had to have had a gun at some point.
I think we were
on the
just
Jimmy Dean
talking
Show.
about that. I feel like we were.
I think it might have been in the Patrick Cotner episode. I think we
yeah.
maybe talked about Rowlf with a gun.
Okay.
And I think there's multiple instances of him with a gun, but in this one, thankfully, not a real gun, we find out. Because the opening of this episode sees a number of Jimmy's dancers dressed up as Mexican banditos,
Sure.
robbing a train. While Jimmy sings, "I've been working on the railroad." And he hands over his goods to the robbers and introduces all this week's guests, as he normally does. And the camera pulls back to reveal Rowlf, who is dressed like an Old West sheriff. As they finish the song, he shoots the gun, which releases a banner that says howdy.
I love how stupid this show is.
But everyone is having such a good time.
Couldn't possibly not have fun doing this, I feel like. Yeah. Everybody looks like they're genuinely happy.
Yeah. Even like the random guest stars that you've never heard of because we weren't alive in the 60s and they were famous for 2 songs for 2 days. We're like, yeah, cool. That person seems to be really happy to hang out with this puppet dog and these dancers who are robbing them.
Yeah.
But, you know, some potentially problematic conversations in this Rowlf one. Rowlf is doing some chin-ups behind his usual bench because he is worried he is overweight.
Well, we do know if you look at Rowlf's entire body, it does go on for infinity. Not that means he's overweight or anything.
For an infinite puppet dog.
I'm not sure there's anything he can do about it, really.
Yeah, I would especially say that maybe following Jimmy Dean's advice for your diet is not a good one.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not like everybody's cracking up at her at that part or anything either. So it's like, is that what people were doing back then? Jimmy's like, I promise if you eat that, you won't be hungry. Excuse me.
Well, because Rowlf even says, no, I'll be dead.
Yeah.
But to be fair, Rowlf does describe eating a ton of things, including 7 to 8 bowls of gravy.
For breakfast.
Yes, we find out that it's all just for his breakfast. But I think Jimmy overcorrects when he says that his new diet should be half a piece of lettuce for breakfast, no lunch, and 1 piece of parsley for dinner.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. Rowlf shouldn't be eating that much gravy. That's just for his longevity. And this whole thing was clearly written for around the joke dog pounds, right?
Which is one of the biggest bombs that Rowlf has.
Yeah, that's right.
He says, I'm terrified of extra weight. All dogs are scared of dog pound.
Yep. Nobody likes it.
Well, and then he goes on to say, nobody loves a fat dog. And tries to say to Jimmy, you don't even want to be seen with me. Which is really only there so that Jimmy can transition into the song.
Yeah,
I want to go where you go.
Actually, they are always written around just what song they're trying to sing.
It's not dissimilar from Rowlf's job on Muppet
Holy
Babies.
shit. It's exactly the same, actually. Wow. A proud tradition. I never even realized it.
But, singing songs that people at the time would have actually enjoyed
Mhm.
is probably a better use of Rowlf than transitioning to songs that no one's ever heard before and suck.
And this is the one where Rowlf totally biffs it too. He doesn't sing it right or something.
Their timing gets off a little bit,
Yeah.
and they're sort of just like, you take it, go,
Yeah.
go. And Jimmy says to Rowlf, "That's the first time I've ever seen you goof."
That's cute.
And at the end, Rowlf tries to hide his embarrassment
Yeah,
from messing
he's
up his
ashamed.
performance.
And Jimmy's like, even if you mess up every song we ever sing, I'm still gonna love you.
He loves him so quickly.
I would love him too. Look at him. He's the best puppet ever made. He's so freaking cute.
Yeah, which is, slight tease for our upcoming 4th anniversary episode we're doing in March. We're going to do sort of a Muppet March Madness bracket of 128 different Muppets. And we're going to talk about who's the best. We're going to do a bunch of matchups.
That'll be a tough one to beat.
It's going to be, I'm going to share brackets so that people can fill them out and predict what they think we'll pick. If I'm a betting man, I got pretty good odds on Rowlf being the winner at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know I don't know who could beat him, but I can't think of every single Muppet right off the top of my head.
There's so many Muppets on that list, Sam.
Yeah.
I go back and look, and I'm like, really? We talked about that guy once?
Oh, there's several of them also that you can immediately dismiss outright, like without even thinking about it.
Yes, I'm hoping that will lead to some quicker parts of the conversation so that we can actually get through 128 Muppets in a reasonable amount of time.
We won't.
Nope. We never do.
Nope.
And the last Jimmy Dean Rowlf thing we watched was from November 14th, 1963, the 9th episode of season 1. This episode kicks off with a riverboat number where Rowlf is the captain of a riverboat. And it doesn't really matter that happens.
It could have been anybody captain in that riverboat.
He does make a poop deck joke.
He says, "Poop your poop deck." Yeah.
Yeah.
What could that mean to him?
I don't know, but in the 60s, it feels like you'd be in trouble for saying the word poop.
Did poop mean the same thing back then, though? When did we decide poop meant poop? I'm not really sure.
I can't imagine poop didn't mean poop.
Well, I don't think it meant
I would
poop.
know.
I don't think it meant poop when poop deck was named poop deck.
No, but when he's using it as a verb to poop your poop deck.
Sure. I mean, maybe he invented it.
Rowlf is the first person to say you should poop.
Or like party pooper, 1744.
That seems a little earlier than Rowlf.
Yeah, I don't think he was around yet.
Oh, in Middle English, the verb poopin meant to make an abrupt sound or to blow or toot a horn.
And that's, I think, where it all went downhill from there.
Yeah. I feel like that has to be an episode of Sideshow Tangents at some point. You guys had to do a poop episode.
We did, and I'm sure we said this exact same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there used to be like an old British guy would say, "You there, poop your horn."
I gotta go take my poop lessons.
Yeah, today I'm learning how to poop.
In 4th grade, I had the choice to be a drummer or a pooper. Well, on Jimmy Dean, it is a cold, windy day at Rowlf's bench, which Jimmy tries to disprove by telling Rowlf he's wearing a fur coat. And he says, "Beasts in the jungle don't wear clothes." And Rowlf says, "What do they know? They live like animals."
He does kind of make us a pretty swift, they kind of change the point halfway through this, where then he's like, "Nobody treats the animals no good. We don't get any clothes."
Yeah, I think when you're making like a show a day.
Yeah, then maybe it's okay.
Yeah, we've even seen them reuse entire scripts before.
Yep, that's true. The beginning things, they'll redo those beginning opening numbers sometimes.
Well, Jimmy surprises him and says, "I've got something that's going to warm you up." And Rowlf goes, "Oh, Lassie, where is she?"
Poop and sex. That's what we talk about this episode. Come on.
Well, and the audience loves it. Yeah. And it's clearly an improv line because Jimmy laughs.
Oh, is that the origin of the Lassies thing?
Oh, maybe. But my favorite part of that is Jimmy acknowledging it's an improv, and he says, "You find that on the card."
I'm excited.
Like, look at that cue card. What you just said ain't on there. But no, Jimmy actually brings out 4 cowboy boots for Rowlf and a scarf.
I have never want to again think of Rowlf as having 4 feet.
I mean, yeah, because
I
guess he would have to put those cowboy boots on his very human hands.
On his hands, yeah.
Unless he has 4 legs down there.
Oh, no.
He's like a centaur.
He's a centaur. Well, Anything. I mean, if he's truly infinite down there, anything could be and
It
is
is
possible.
It is interesting that he gives him 4 cowboy boots and he gives him mittens.
Yeah, like what's he expect him to be doing there? That's right. So he is a centaur. I think that
I guess he must
confirms
be a
it.
centaur. Rowlf's a centaur.
don't
He's a
think there's any-
giant-bodied
I
centaur.
don't
No
think
one
there's-
knows how far down those 4 legs are,
Yeah.
but at the bottom, at that,
There's
you know,
4 teeny tiny little horse feet that can fit those
they're
teeny
tiny.
because the boots are so tiny.
I guess that's true. They have to
They
fit in those
have to be
boots.
tiny. Well, I guess you could
Ugh.
put a horse and it could have a pretty small boot on because their feet are really thin. So they could have really long legs. What do you
I
guys
hate
think at
this.
home?
Yeah, somebody
write
draw.
and let us know.
Like, do a police sketch of the way we're describing Rowlf
Yeah.
with his normal upper body, his giant body that just keeps going out seemingly exponentially.
Yeah.
But then at some point comes back together into 4 horse legs.
Yeah,
that
and
fit
also
into cowboy boots.
this is even if the infinite part isn't true, we know for a fact that he is a centaur now because he got 4 boots and 2 mittens. That's just a fact.
Canonical.
Yeah.
Jimmy puts the scarf on Rowlf, and Jim clearly improvises another line here, where the scarf is apparently too tight, and he says, "It's a present, not a hanging."
Mm-hmm.
And Jimmy Dean loses it again. Jimmy Dean at some point says to Rowlf that he's really wound up tonight. I think he says you're as wound up as a $4 watch or something like that.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that's expensive or not back then.
Sounds about normal. Sounds like a normal price for a watch to me.
Yeah. He also gives him earmuffs and gives him a very loudly patterned overcoat, which leads to them singing, "Button up your overcoat."
I loved watching him put all these little props on him.
That coat was wild. It's got like a bunch of houses
That's
patterned
what
all
I thought
over
too.
it.
I was like, my wife would love this coat. I gotta find Rowlf's little coat.
I did try to search for it just because I was curious if it was something, like if that pattern was a known thing back then. And I couldn't find anything exactly like it.
I imagine it was a children's coat that they found somewhere, right?
That's what I was thinking.
guess.
Or just a cheap piece of material that they made into a coat that could fit Rowlf. Most likely a children's coat.
I've bought children's clothes for puppets before. It fits perfectly.
But that is the end, sadly, of the Jimmy Dean Rowlf segments we watched. As always, they're fantastic, and I am delighted every time I find more of them.
I have to go back and watch a bunch of them. They make me happy, and that so little does these days. Especially this next thing we watched didn't make me happy at all.
Yeah, if you wanna experience some of that happiness before we move on to the unhappiness, Lord Moloch is the YouTube channel where I find these. It seems like somebody who has maybe acquired the first season DVD set of Jimmy Dean, because this is also the same account that I found that uploaded the episodes that we talked about the last time we did a catch-up episode.
Oh yeah. Do you think maybe that episode is missing? The one we're missing is just not in the DVD collection, or what?
Maybe. I don't know. That DVD set is usually like $200 on eBay, so I am never going to acquire it. But yeah, for some reason, this channel keeps rolling out episodes in batches and not all at the same time. So who knows? Maybe someday some more will surface. But yes, for now, it is on to 1970. This is a couple weeks before Oscar's first green appearance on the Flip Wilson Show. A couple months before Sesame Street Season 2 begins. And also, 1970 is the year of The Great Santa Claus Switch, Muppets on Puppets, and also the debut year of Featherstone, Harry Monster, Gonzo, Fig, Thog, the Frackles, and a bunch more Sesame Street Muppets that I don't feel like listing.
What a busy bunch of guys they were, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. I think especially the early seasons of Sesame Street, because that first season they use a lot of the old monsters they still had, like Beautiful Day Monster and Lunch Encounter Monster or whatever, all those guys. And then second year of Sesame, they're like, I guess we should probably make some new guys. So yeah, we watched, sometimes Sam mentions that there are things that we shouldn't have to watch. And I will say, there are times I agree with him, especially when we are a podcast that skips over Sesame Street in general.
Oh, wow.
Because we cannot watch all of it. The fact that we have to spend time, because I made us, watching kids scream at Big Bird from across a room is a little bit of torture.
And it's so grating. Everybody's screaming. The people on stage are screaming.
Yeah.
The kids are screaming. The footage is choppily edited. Everybody's just running around,
It
yelling
gets
their
out of
heads
sync
off.
at times. You're not really sure if you've seen the same thing twice or if it's another time they did it.
Yeah, and it cuts to the kids, and they're just like sitting so stone faced. So sometimes they're standing up, waving their arms around, but sometimes they're just like, "What?" And who can blame them? This looks low rent to me. This doesn't look good at all.
Well, Sam, to be fair, this is from September 1st, 1970. This is the very first live tour of Sesame Street between the first and second season.
Okay, so they
So
barely
the
knew what
fact
they
that,
were doing.
yeah, and they got thousands of kids to come out to Golden Gate Park in
Yeah.
San Francisco. As the clip mentions, they bust in some kids from like lower income areas of town, which is great.
Yeah,
Good job, Sesame
totally.
Street. This event was apparently filmed and broadcast on PBS the same day, I
Oh,
believe.
wow.
At least from the research I could do. And overall, it seems like absolute chaos. There's a lot of just, hey kids, have you seen Big
Where's
Bird?
Big Bird? There he is. Repeat for
Yep.
1 hour.
But other than that, is it's like a little bit of a time capsule. And at the end, the news reporter comes out and says, if you don't know who the Cookie Monster is, then your house may be suffering from a Sesame Street gap.
That was interesting because I was thinking like probably almost literally everyone in America knows who Cookie Monster is. And to think that there was a time when Cookie Monster just was new,
Yeah.
that's wild. Also, what are they making Mr. Hooper lug around? What was he has like a big TV on front of him?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what the plot of this was, but there did seem to be some sort of device that Mr. Hooper has that he's just wearing. I don't know if he was
Yeah.
wearing it or just
It's a
carrying
strap
it.
to the front of him. He's got straps on, but we never get
Yeah.
to see what it does. But he has to wear it all the time. He's old.
But yeah, my only
Let somebody else. Let Bob carry the big box around. Bob's like, "Do you know who I am?"
yeah, I could go back to Japan tomorrow. I don't need this shit.
Yeah.
The only thing that really jumped out at me from this is that the news reporter at the end is Ron Majors, who was an ABC7 Chicago newsman for decades.
Like somebody you used to watch.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
I did. Which I didn't recognize him from this, obviously, because this is much before he had moved to Chicago. But the moment he said, this is Ron Majors, I was like, hold on a minute. I know that old man. And yeah, I looked it up, and Ron Majors is the same Ron Majors as I watched all my life growing up on ABC7 in Chicago.
There is a staggering amount of children behind him. So yeah, I guess good job, Sesame Street.
But ultimately, you don't learn a lot by watching this clip. You could have seen a still photo of this day and had the same experience we had, pretty much.
If we're gonna pull a lesson from all of these clips, the lesson I learned from this is you don't got to get everything perfect the first time you try it. Sometimes you can just run around on stage and say, "Where's Big Bird?" Kids will be into that.
Yeah, kids are easy to please.
Yeah,
another lesson to learn from this. But the next thing we watched was from 1972, which was not a huge year for Muppet things, but they did do the Muppet Musicians of Bremen in April, and then the Perry Como Winter Show that December. And this year marks the debut of The Count on Sesame Street.
Great.
So yeah, this is from July 23rd, 1972. This is Sesame Street with the Fort Worth Symphony. We've seen something like this before.
We've seen him conducting a symphony, I feel like, but maybe
I think it was the Boston Pops.
Yeah, I think, and it was like a whole special, maybe, and that was way later.
So all of these things we keep watching with these random one-off Big Bird appearances are while they're on tour.
Okay.
Like we saw with the San Francisco thing.
Mhm.
They're touring the country. They're doing live shows. In between, they're doing appearances with symphonies, with mayors, all this stuff. So I think that's what we're seeing here is just these one-off sort of press days that they're doing. But yeah, this is chaos the entire time. Lots of random shots of kids in the audience. Big Bird gets precariously brought in on the back of some sort of cart.
Yeah, what's he on he's like on a motorbike or something. Standing.
Yeah, standing, very wobbly, gets mobbed by kids as he gets to make his way up the stairs, and Susan's like, kids, back up.
Big Bird just ripped apart today.
Oh man, that reminded me of that sad part of I Am Big Bird, where Carol Spinney talks about when they were on tour back then, and I think they did like a high school or a college or something, and kids just pulled all the feathers off of Big Bird, and he cried.
No, I've never seen I Am Big Bird.
Oh, Sam.
I gotta watch it.
You have to watch it. One, it's just very good, but two, it'll make you fall even more in love with Carol Spinney and Big Bird. Well, Big Bird joins Bob, Luis, and Susan on stage and gets prepared to conduct. This is still sort of the less intelligent chaos Big Bird of the early days of Sesame Street.
Yeah, he's got his moments peeking through where he is being. He's doing the little grown up joke aside kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I think especially in the next thing we watched, that's
Yeah,
just Carol spinning. That's not
totally.
even Big Bird anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, aside from the novelty of seeing Big Bird in person, I'm watching this clip and I can't imagine this would be fun to be at.
No, that's what I was thinking about the last one too. Like these all look like bad events.
Yeah, like if I was there, as soon as my kid is starting to get a little tired, I'm like, oh, cool, we can leave then, huh? Because
Yeah.
this sucks.
But I mean, it's a fun concept where he like doesn't know how to count, so he can't count. He can't like do the. But also that presupposes that when you're conducting an orchestra, you have to out loud count, which is not accurate. You're kind of counting on the people watching you to know how to count too.
Well, and I think the other thing we saw, which I don't remember what year that was from, but when he's conducting a different orchestra, I don't think it was as much about counting as much as just Big Bird would be bad as a conductor.
Yeah. Oh, the thing
But
he
yeah.
says that's like adulty is after he does it the first time, he's like, "Man, these guys aren't very good." I love that.
Yeah, which I think he also did something like
Yeah,
that.
you're probably right. They probably had a whole routine written out for when he went to conduct an orchestra, huh?
Well, because again, when these things were not being aired anywhere and you're just seeing it live for the first time, you can say the same joke at every tour stop.
Yeah.
And it's going to hit just as hard.
And no one's going to put it on Twitter and say, Big Bird, you hack.
Yeah. It reminds me of in high school, I went and saw Green Day twice on the same tour. And the show was identical at both concerts. And I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Every city's their favorite city? What the hell?
And then you grow up and you're like, I'm so tired. I will take any opportunity just to copy. But it's like how academic dishonesty was bad when you're in college, and then when you're at work, it's like, please, for God's sake, I can copy and paste this.
Yeah, we've made a prison for ourselves with this podcast where that's literally impossible for us to do.
Yeah. Podcasting's different, Matt. Podcasting is a prison that you trap yourself in forever. You talk for 3 hours and then you have to edit yourself talking for 3 hours, and there's nothing worse in the entire world, but God damn it if I don't love it. And sometimes you're talking about a Big Bird that you can barely hear, and you're about 7,000 feet away from him, and he's just screaming.
He has to. People are 7,000 feet away from him.
Yeah, and the room. Oh God, just to be in that room with all those kids too.
Yeah, just the like medium roar of just children's excitement.
Yeah,
in an arena, there's too much. Like imagine being in that orchestra, and presumably after Big Bird leaves, you're supposed to just play some songs,
music. Where's Big Bird?
And those kids could not give less of a shit anymore.
Yeah. I'm watching through it silently right now, and there are moments where they are screaming as if the Beatles have arrived. You can see their faces of like.
I mean, I think we've talked about this before, Sam, but imagine you're walking downtown Missoula and you turn the corner and Big Bird is standing there.
It would be the best day of my life. That's probably what I said last time.
You're not going to keep your cool.
No. Oh, I would love that so much. I would cry. And I think I probably said I'd cry last time too, but I would if I saw
You got to watch I Am Big Bird, Sam.
Okay, I will. Well, I have to watch it for the show anyway. But
but that's going to be a long
I'll be 75 years old when I watch it.
Yeah, you won't remember that you watched it.
I'll be as old as Carol Spinney was when he made the documentary.
That's probably true. Oh no. This is Yep, a lifelong commitment. That felt like a joke when we said it the first time. Well, the next thing we watched is from 1973. So a little update on what happened in 1973. Just pretty much the year of the Julie Andrews Hour and Julie on Sesame Street.
Not their best year. Honestly, a standout low year for them, I feel like.
Yeah, probably a year that we only spent, like one episode on.
And those were weird specials.
Yeah, looking back at our schedule, we talked about these two specials in episode 14 and 15. So we did 1973 just in 2 episodes.
Do you want to feel old and completely insane? We're on episode 169 right now. Episode 14? Get out of here with that.
Well, and also, we did an episode where we only watched one 50-minute special.
What were we doing? That's a
Now,
those
if
are
we were to do that, I
different.
definitely would have made us watch both of those in one episode.
Yeah, those are different guys. We're not those guys anymore.
But what we watched from 1973 was Big Bird meeting Knoxville Mayor Kyle Testerman, who signs an official document making Big Bird an honorary citizen of Knoxville.
How? Why?
Again, press for the tour. I'm sure they were performing for children that day in Knoxville, and the mayor wanted a photo op.
You know what? Now that when I said why, I immediately remembered that I think I kind of know why. Is because part of what I read about this guy. Did you read about this guy?
I did not look up Kyle Testerman.
He seemed like he was tourism focused to the extreme. So apparently Knoxville at the time was it says with the opening of the West Town Mall, business began to drain out of Knoxville. So a mall single-handedly destroyed the entire city of Knoxville. So he did some things like he got liquor by the drink legalized in Knoxville, so you could like go to a bar. Yes, Matt's drinking as we're doing this, so you could get a drink.
Because we're not recording this one on Sunday mornings like
No,
we
it is
normally
not.
do.
Let me be very clear: it is not Sunday morning.
Normally we record at Sunday
evening.
10 a.m. on Sunday morning. We're recording at like 8 o'clock at night, so I'm having a little drink.
But
Thanks, Kyle Testerman.
He really was focused on rebuilding downtown Knoxville, and he brought the World's Fair to Knoxville too, which seemed like it was kind of a boondoggle ultimately. Like it was really expensive.
Well,
it didn't go poorly, I don't think, but it just was like, it's like when the Olympics come somewhere and everybody's like, actually, it's going to fuck you guys up real bad. I think that's kind of what happened. But anyway, I think he probably was just like out there being like, Knoxville's great. Big Bird lives here.
This was one of my favorite Big Bird Carol Spinney moments we've ever seen. Not much happens, but I feel like in this moment, Carol knows how disarming it is to be a giant bird in a room full of people who don't know how to behave around puppets.
Okay.
He tells small, simple jokes, and they crack everyone up, much in that Rowlf on Jimmy Dean way, where people just don't expect that to come from this.
Right. And a character from a children's thing, too.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Where you are kind of like, people are not prepared to verbally spar with Big Bird like maybe they should be.
But the beginning is the best part, where I'll say Carol because it's Big Bird saying it, but definitely Carol just telling the mayor a fun story. He says, I put my wing on Mrs. Nixon's shoulder and I found out something. You don't put your wing on Mrs. Nixon's shoulder. It was removed
that
quickly.
Was awesome. Yeah. Somebody put Big Bird in some Secret Service guy put Big Bird in an arm bar.
I want to see footage of that, of just the moment he like touches Mrs. Nixon and just three Secret Service guys are like, move, move, move.
But what
Take
if
the shot.
You never know if Big Bird could be, that's a perfect assassination get up, right? You could hide anything in there. He opens his mouth and just like the barrel of a gun comes out.
There are some photos of Pat Nixon and Big Bird meeting, but in none of them do they look alarmed by touching.
Oh, he gave her a feather. She's touching him. He's blowing the story out of proportion.
I'm wondering if this was maybe, Big Bird walks into the room, immediately puts his hand on Mrs. Nixon, and people are like, whoa!
Mr. Bird, she can touch you. You can't touch her.
But yeah, he just gets the paper signed, says, kind of makes you humble, which cracks up everyone in the room. And then it's on to 1974, the year of the Muppets Valentine Show, Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass, Jim on What's My Line, which, looking back, is a little surprising. Like, I know obviously he'd been famous for a while, but Jim Henson, the person, I feel like hadn't done a ton of public-facing content at this point, and yet they asked him to come on What's My Line.
Well, I guess that's kind of the fun part of What's My Line with that in particular is if you are a little
bit hidden, Sam, you got a point.
If you're hidden, then people will be like, this long-haired hippie is all my favorite little guys.
But I think they did cover their eyes for that one. I think it was one of those where they were like,
that's true.
You can't look at this guy.
Yeah. Makes it easy. Well, I got to watch that one again because it seems like it'd be really easy for him because his voice sounds exactly like Kermit.
he did voices, if I remember correctly.
Oh,
he did
you're
a bunch
right.
of different
You're right.
accents to try and disguise
He
himself.
Did. You're right.
But this is also the debut year of Crazy Harry, Brewster,
Hey.
Mildred, George the Janitor,
Matt's favorite
Droop.
Muppet. Crazy Harry.
Which one?
Crazy Harry.
Oh, okay. I thought you were like trying to put like Mildred or
Mildred,
Brewster
yeah.
on me.
No.
Brewster is nobody's favorite Muppet.
Ugh, no. Brewster was awful.
But yeah, also Droop, Miss Mousy, and the Koosbanians, because they all premiered in the Muppets Valentine Show.
Oh, yeah.
But what we watched from 1974 was 4 seconds of the Sesame Street float.
Yep. Thanks, Matt.
The reason I included this was because this was the first year that the Sesame Street float appeared in the parade.
It actually says it's 2 seconds of the Sesame Street float, right? Oh, no, it's 2 minutes. Never mind.
Yeah, the clip is 2 minutes. Only 4 seconds of those 2 minutes
Right.
include the Sesame Street float. The
It's-
rest is weird instrumental music with footage of Mickey Mouse and Bullwinkle.
Yeah, I kind of loved it. And you know what else I loved about it? That in the background, you could see
Yep.
you could see classic New York from the 70s, where there's a big marquee that says Orgy American Style. And there's like dirty pictures, like you bring your kid down there to watch the float, and the whole time you're standing there, it says Orgy American Style in the biggest letters you've ever seen. Amazing.
Orgy especially is like,
Orgy's huge.
I don't even know how they found letters that big.
Yeah, we're not beating around the bush here. This is an orgy first
That's the
and
sequel.
foremost. Yeah, and I also learned that Orgy American Style is the movie on the marquee in the Back to the Future, in Back to the Future when the town's kind of shitty. That's what
I thought that sounded familiar, and I was like, why do I know the words Orgy American Style?
It's like your classic
but that's why.
rundown city movie marquee.
But back then, people knew if they're taking their kids to downtown,
Sure,
like Midtown Manhattan, they know what they're getting
yeah.
into.
I mean, at the time, it's the only place big enough to float your Bullwinkle balloon down the street.
Well, yeah, this is the float that they'll use for about 5 years. But Big Bird's on the roof. Cookie Monster and other Muppets are sticking their heads out the windows, and they've got a bunch of the human cast members on there as well.
This is a great video. It's so soothing.
That's the other reason I included it, is because it's also just kind of a nice little video to watch, and it feels like a little step back in time. And there's a wild moment at the end, or near the end, when you see Bullwinkle pass by, that immediately cars are just going through the intersection.
Oh, I missed that. That's crazy.
Like, they didn't really have a very strict blocked off parade route. It was kind of just like, all right, and the balloon goes, all right, now bring the cars through.
Yeah.
Pause, it's time for Sesame Street.
Yeah, it's like the cast from Wicked. They just did their little dance. Now we got to let some cars pass by.
But then we're on to 1976. Well, it's the year the Muppets wrap up their run on SNL, the first season of The Muppet Show, which means it's the debut year of Fozzie, Miss Piggy, Scooter, Bunsen, Muppy, Wayne and Wanda, the Newsman, Hilda, Marvin Suggs, the Muppaphones, Uncle Deadly, Behemoth, and Timmy Monster.
Somebody's little sewing hand was sore, probably, huh?
Yeah, Hilda's.
Yeah.
That's what you don't know. She makes all the other Muppets.
Oh, wow.
She was the first Muppet.
What a revelation.
She like Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas herself, where she had to like sew herself together, and then someone breathed life into her, and then she's like, I need friends.
Or she Oogie Boogied herself and she's full of bugs.
She could be full of bugs.
She looks like she could be full of bugs, and it wouldn't freak me out if she was. I would understand.
Yeah, if she just like, I got a little seam rip here, and it's just
okay, maybe that would actually really gross me out, because it genuinely grossed me out thinking about
that took no time to gross you out, actually.
Like a maggot pouring out of a Muppet. That would be so gross. Okay, let's talk about something else.
Hilda unraveling.
Yeah.
Well, the thing we watched from this year, also quite short, was the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade from November 25th, 1976. The biggest thing about this is that they actually sing a song.
Yeah,
in this clip
they're having
on
a
the
good
Sesame Street
time.
Float. Yeah, they sing the song. What's the name of that song? Bob's rocking a big old cowboy hat, which I loved.
Bob, I wonder what that guy's like.
But the quality on this one gets terrible about halfway through the song.
Oh, this is the one
becomes,
that goes nuts. Oh, you're right.
Yeah, mostly unwatchable.
Yeah, in a way that, doesn't happen to media anymore. If your media is broken nowadays, it just don't work. But back then, it used to look really wild.
And if you own media for too long, it just got worse and worse.
Yeah. Tracking. You had to do tracking. I don't even really know what tracking is, but you had to do it.
I think it's like adjusting either the speed or the position of the heads.
Something the head would do, yeah.
Like maybe the tautness.
The tautness. That's probably right.
It sounded right enough that I said it confidently, but I honestly have no idea. But I don't think there's much to say about that, Sam, unless you can prove me wrong.
Well, no, I don't think so. It's just looks like shit, but it looked like it was probably fun. They're doing a little skit on the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
But the next thing we watched has a bit more meat on the bones. Is from 1977, the year of season 2 of The Muppet Show, but also Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, and somehow already at this point, Sesame Street's 1000th episode.
What the fuck?
Which again reiterates why we're not watching every episode of Sesame Street on this podcast.
Nobody could do it.
But this is the debut year of Beaker, Julia Strangepork, Link Hogthrob. I hate to say it this way. Dog Lion, Lunch Encounter Monster, Mean Mama, Lubbock Lou and the Jug Huggers, the Flying Zucchini Brothers, J.P. Gross, who we actually get to hear a little bit about later on.
Oh, yeah. I love that he's like the character find of 1977.
Yeah.
He's like in 2 episodes.
We also get to meet Quango the Gorilla, Afghan Hound, and Mickey Moose.
He's Scooter's uncle. Can you believe it?
I love Kermit being like, hey, if you've kept up with our show, you know Scooter? Everyone knows
like,
Scooter?
Yes, Scooter!
Yeah, that's not what the crowd actually does, though. They're
like,
a little bit like, yeah, I think so. Well, what we watched was from September 22nd, 1977, which is Jim Henson and Frank Oz appearing on Russell Hardy. This is the same show that we previously watched them on when they were promoting Dark Crystal, where the Mystic came out and walked out fully convincingly, and they sat in like the Skeksis banquet chairs.
Yes, okay. This is all coming back to me.
Yeah. So this is an old friend. I guess not at this point. This is probably their first appearance, but they'll come back to this guy. But this one starts off with Kermit sitting on top of a camera, forgetting his lines while introducing the show.
I love it. Apparently not like who. Russell Hardy? Oh, you're Russell Hardy. Who the hell is Russell Hardy?
Yeah.
Great obnoxious American bit.
Very much so, because he even acknowledges that this is the 6th year of Russell Hardy's show. So clearly people in the UK would know Russell Hardy. But Kermit's just like, I don't know this guy.
It reminds me of that Better Man movie with Robbie Williams, which is like currently as we're recording this flopping really badly, even though it's supposed to be really good. And it's like, he's probably extremely famous in England, but it's also like, we don't know who this guy is. And if we don't know who it is, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Maybe if they just made a CGI monkey Russell Hardy, we would care more.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Well, Jim and Frank are introduced. Jim is at his most beardy time.
Yes,
he's just all hair and beard at this point. And he's immediately called out for being American because they're talking about their busy schedules.
Yeah.
And Jim says schedule. And Russell's like, ha, you said schedule.
He's like, you guys say schedule? How have you never heard an American person say schedule before?
It was kind of nice, though, to hear Jim go, all right, schedule.
Schedule, yeah.
Well, Frank being Frank jokes that, Jim and I actually don't like each other. There's no fun on set.
And every jest, there's the kernel of truth, isn't there?
That's the thing, is like, there's either a kernel of truth or this man is just so dry in his comedic ways that
that's how the British
it is very believable.
They love that.
I could see people, if Jim wasn't there to laugh it off, being like, wow, I think those guys actually hate each other.
I don't know what it is about. Frank is he's so like, he should be so pretentious when he's talking about this stuff, but it doesn't, like the things he says, I think if another person said them would be like completely obnoxious, where he's like, it's all about repression and I can be somebody that I can't be. But I believe him when he says it. When other people say it, I'm like, shut up. But when he says it, I'm like, you're just like some bald goofball. And then when you're Miss Piggy, you're going completely nuts. So I do think that this is exactly true of you.
Yeah, I think it comes across to me as unfiltered Frank Oz. Like, he has no hesitation in saying what he's thinking. And sometimes it is super deep introspective things about the Muppets and the way he's performing, and other times it's just like, I don't know, it's a freaking puppet.
Yeah.
But it's like,
Yeah,
however
right.
he's feeling in that moment is gonna come out of his mouth.
Yeah.
And he, for better or worse, doesn't hide that. And I think it comes off super earnestly because it feels like, yeah, he legitimately is thinking about the repressive nature of certain art forms and why, being a puppeteer is so freeing. Both because, like he says, he has the freedom to do things as a character that people are unable to do in their normal lives. And at the end, he talks about how it's so great being a puppeteer and not like a normal actor on screen.
Yeah.
Because when he's off screen, when Kermit and Russell are just talking, he's like, I'm cracking up over here.
Yeah.
And I'm allowed to do that because I'm not an actor.
Yeah. Yeah. He seems like he's pretentious, but it doesn't seem like he's not having fun, which is kind of like a nice balance, I guess, where you're thinking about it hard, but you're also just like giving the space to be like, but this is also really stupid.
I did, as we say all of this and talking about the benefits of Frank Oz saying what comes to his mind, I did forget the next thing that happens in this episode.
What?
Where Jim's talking about originally making and using Kermit and explaining how he wasn't a frog. And Russell Hardy tries to transition and he's like, not to dispatch the conversation we were just having. What conversation are we having now? And Frank goes,
A
doll.
boring one. Oh yeah, right. Yeah. Then once I feel like that comes over into when Fozzie shows up too, because Fozzie's being like aggressive. And if I was
Fozzie
that
and
guy,
Kermit are both like a little bit like, yeah, this sucks.
yeah. If I was that guy, I would be like, am I gonna have to beat up Fozzie Bear?
But Russell Hardy does ask Frank about bridging generation gaps. And this is one of those moments where I think it's because Frank feels like he's just giving his earnest feeling in an answer. He's not rehearsed. He's not thinking even too much about his answer.
Yeah.
This is just genuinely what he believes. And he talks about how puppets are traditionally for children, but because we're zany adults who try to make shows better fun for ourselves, I guess it bridges a generation gap.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
And then Kermit interrupts him to say that was a sufficiently dull answer.
Yeah, now they're mad at each other.
Yeah, now it becomes a game, I think, for the two of them to fuck with each other. But Kermit does have some press to do, so he teases Pigs in Space coming up, which then Fozzie interrupts and says, I don't know if I was supposed to come in now, but things were getting very dull. And Fozzie won't leave Russell alone.
Oh, he's so close to his face. And it's hard
very
hard to
close.
remember that they're not actually like breathing, but it is like he's just breathing around on his face.
I also, Fozzie's a bit of an ass in this, but I think Russell deserves it because the first thing he asks when Fozzie comes out is like, well, if you're introducing all these new characters, didn't you consider getting rid of some of the older guys?
Yeah.
And he points to Fozzie.
Something rubbed me the wrong way about this guy. He wasn't playing the correct way that you're supposed to play.
Yeah, I think if we're ranking humans that interact with Muppets and what we watched,
Yeah.
he's not the bottom, but he's near the
But he's
bottom.
pretty
of this
low,
list.
and I don't like his interaction with Miss Piggy later either. But we'll get there.
Yeah. Well, he asks Fozzie for a joke, but Fozzie freezes up every time he's asked to tell a joke.
Mm-hmm.
And then, because obviously they put together some prompts for Russell on a card, he asked about PJ Gross. And Kermit says, who? And he's like, PJ Gross. He's like, oh, JP Gross.
Of course, you fool.
And he introduces the idea of JP Gross and says, he's a terrible man. He's one of those people who wears a suit and tie.
I missed that part.
Yeah, they're just really ragging on Russell
They
here,
They
which
hate this guy.
I do enjoy this sort of chaotic Jim Frank energy that they bring when they're put together for a show.
Yeah.
But then Russell pivots and asks Kermit if he's worried because he's an aging frog and his nephew Robin is becoming a popular performer.
This part was really interesting because Kermit really like lets the curtain down and he's like, yeah, I get 75% of Robin's income or something like that.
Yeah, he's like, so I'm pushing his career like mad. What are you talking about? And then he admits that he also gets 75% of Fozzie's money, which catches Fozzie off guard.
Fozzie makes $14 a year, it is revealed. But yeah, I like that because, I mean, obviously, Kermit's got to be making money off these guys somehow.
I mean, that would be, Kermit's only making $56 a year then off of Fozzie.
Off of just Fozzie, sure. But
Yeah. But 56 times each Muppet, maybe.
Yeah. Well,
That's not too shabby.
he's
Well,
got to be one.
it's still not great, but
No, I don't think so. I think it's not worth it.
But now it is time for Russell to ask a personal, private question.
I haven't missed
After
this.
Kermit dispatches Fozzie, of course,
Mhm.
because Russell is trying to casually get rid of Fozzie and hint that he should leave. And Kermit yells, "Take a walk, bear!" But what Russell needs to ask is how difficult it is to take on the new series when the diva Miss Piggy is around, which obviously makes her show up immediately.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't missed all of the incessant questions about their relationship. We haven't had that in a while, I feel like.
No, but this is a pretty early one, to be fair.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, we're coming up on the second season of
Yeah.
The Muppet Show here, or we just started it. And for that to be already pretty well established and in the press, I'm sure we've watched things like this before,
Mhm.
but boy, does it not go away ever.
Nope.
As usual, Kermit denies there's any relationship, doesn't want to talk about it. And this part starts to fall apart a little bit
Mhm.
because Russell can't really hold himself together, and Kermit and Piggy don't seem like they had much prepared for this section. So
Yeah.
they just kind of babble for a few minutes.
I hate when people are like, when interviewers are just like laugh so hard at the Muppets just like for existing. I find that
Yeah.
very frustrating.
I think Frank does too.
Yeah.
Because Piggy just tries to yell at him a few times to be like, "Get your shit together
Yeah,
here, Russell."
annoying.
Like, but that actually makes him laugh even worse. So it actually kind of backfires. But he does get back on track by asking Miss Piggy the question, "What about the pressure of space on pork?"
Don't like that.
No, but it was clearly just a setup for her to say, "What about the pressure of fist on flesh?" Which the
Uh-huh.
audience fucking loves. And it ends up with her karate chopping Russell Hardy a few times.
He plays it pretty well for a guy just getting hit by a foam tube.
Yeah. When he can also see Frank like 2 feet away from him.
Yeah, that's true.
Just going, ha, ha, ha.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jim and Frank then come back. They say they are not responsible for the actions of Kermit and Piggy.
Yeah. Just kind of
And
like
surprising-
not a very good little improv set they did. I kind of hated it.
Yeah, I think they improve upon it the following year
Mhm.
with Michael Parkinson.
I agree.
But I don't mind the beginning when it's Kermit and Fozzie interrupting. But I think the doll thing goes a bit too far because it wasn't actually that doll.
Right.
And then the Piggy stuff kind of just goes nowhere.
Yeah. And Piggy works better because at the end, Russell Hardy insults Piggy. He's like, "You did all this beauty work. What went wrong?" Piggy works better when you're like, "I must have you now."
And I think that's a perfect time to transition away from Russell Hardy and get to Michael Parkinson. Russell Hardy does wrap up with Statler and Waldorf showing up at the end, recorded on the Muppet Show set, saying, "This show's worse than the Muppet Show."
True.
And then go, "Who's Russell Hardy anyhow?" And Waldorf says, "I never did like him."
I like that.
I did learn that they did essentially the same thing for Michael Parkinson, but we don't get to see that part.
Oh, the same little Statler and Waldorf part.
Statler and Waldorf comment at the
Okay.
end of the show, "Who is this Russell Parkinson anyway?" And they say, "Better than our show," which is
What the
pretty
hell?
much the
It's
exact
so
same
weird that it
thing.
took them a year to go on his show and they did that. Yeah.
But yes, we are now in 1978, the year of Julie Andrews' One Step into Spring, Muppet Show Season 3, both Christmas Eve on Sesame Street and the special Sesame Street Christmas,
That was a weird time.
when they made 2 of them, and one was terrible.
And one was so bad. Yeah. And one was amazing, and Cookie Monster ate a Christmas tree.
Mm-hmm. And the other one had Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
But this year marked the debut of Barkley, the Two-Headed Monster, New Zealand, Beauregard, Annie Sue, Gladys, Louis Kazager, Camilla, Bobby Benson, and Emily Bear.
Great time to be a Muppet fan, huh?
For Muppets that are largely forgotten these days. But we did watch the November 18th, 1978 appearance on Parkinson with Jim Henson and Frank Oz. Apparently later on, we will get to, 30 years from now, Michael Parkinson reunites with Miss Piggy on the 2007 special Happy Birthday BAFTA, celebrating the 60 years of the BAFTA Awards.
Oh, okay.
And what we do miss is both at the end, Statler and Waldorf commenting on the show, but also at the beginning, we sort of join this in media res. Apparently at the beginning, Henson and Oz talk about Fozzie's voice changing. So they discuss, I guess, the pilot and how they changed from the deep voiced Fozzie to what he is now. And they also talk about Animal, and this is one of the instances where Frank Oz says that Animal has 5 feelings: food, pain, sex, sleep, and money, and said, you don't touch him, he'll eat a car.
You did a really good proto Fozzie voice just now. It's like how a lot of people can do the Homer before he was Homer,
Oh, Marge.
but nobody can do Homer now.
Interestingly, Jim also talks a bit about shooting test footage for the Muppet movie, which this is before the Muppet movie.
And this
comes
is also
out,
if we
so-
didn't get to see it all.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's why we join them sort of in the middle of the interview
Right.
where Michael Parkinson is asking Frank about Kermit. And this is something we've definitely seen some clips of before.
Mhm.
I think sort of a little mashup of some of these clips was in a Best of Parkinson that we watched on Facebook a few years ago, I think.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Because the first part felt extremely familiar to me when he asked Frank about Kermit. Frank says that Kermit is the glue that holds everything together.
Right.
And Kermit shows up saying, the frog is the glue? What does that mean?
Yeah.
And he goes on to ask Kermit if he ever flirts with any of the beautiful lady guests.
And he does indeed. We've seen it.
Yeah. Well, he says a little bit. And then Michael asks, do you fancy any of them? And he gives the cutest little nod. And then it gets a little weird.
When he asks if he's a heterosexual frog. Is that what you
Yes.
mean? Yeah.
Yes, he's like, so you're a normal heterosexual frog then? And Kermit is taken aback and goes, I don't know, maybe.
And he's like, frogs are a little different. Interesting.
Sure, I don't even know. I don't know much about frog sexuality.
I mean,
so-
they can change. I'm pretty sure.
Oh. They can change their sex?
They can.
Okay. So maybe you can't be a heterosexual frog.
Yeah.
It's impossible. I don't think we ever get that far into
No.
that. I think that's probably the deepest we get in regards to
Kermit's genitals, except when he does mention not having a penis at one point. Is that what happens?
Yes. Well, I think that's when Joan Rivers asks him if he has sex.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're kind of seeing the whole Kermit right here,
Right.
Joan. But then he asks him if it's a difficult job keeping the troop together, and he admits he's the only sane one there. And this is when we see Fozzie Bear come in. And this is a part where Fozzie is staring at Michael Parkinson's head because both of Frank Oz's characters are obsessed with Michael Parkinson having a toupee.
That really worked for me for some reason, and I think it was because Michael Parkinson took it so well.
Oh, yeah, no, he plays along very well
Yeah.
with Fozzie, and even better with Piggy, who he
Mm.
definitely wants to have sex with.
Yeah.
Aggressive sex, I believe, is what he says. Fozzie tosses his hat and asks Michael Parkinson if he can borrow his rug, and I don't like watching Fozzie for this long without his
Without his hat. He comes across as quite bald, which is not a problem, but he does.
For some reason, he comes across as not a bear,
Oh.
if that makes any
Whoa.
sense.
The hat
He
makes
comes
him
across
a
as just like
bear.
a bald anything Muppet to me.
Okay. I guess I could see that.
Michael asks Fozzie if he has a favorite bit he would like to do, and at first he says no, but then we get an explicit call out to the cow joke.
Yeah, your favorite thing in the world.
Not my favorite thing, just one, I find it amazing how many times they use
They
it
do, yeah,
across
that's true.
decades.
Uh-huh.
But now to have an explicitly called out, like, hey,
This
let's
exists.
pull out
and
the
we
old
do it.
favorite.
That's true. That is interesting.
Even though Fozzie completely blows it.
Yeah.
And then Jim and Frank talk a little bit about the illusion being broken sometimes when they're on screen at the same time. When they're on screen at the same time
Yeah.
as Fozzie and Kermit.
I feel like there's in there a part where they kind of like imply that Americans maybe think that, or like there's like a difference in the, like, I think he says something about like the American audience might think that blah, blah, blah. And then Michael,
I think it's actually the opposite. I think he's
Hmm.
talking about how in America they're on TV more often. And so
Oh.
people are maybe used to seeing them and the puppets at the same time. Whereas in England, they're on TV less often. So people don't
Okay.
necessarily know Frank Oz,
Right.
but they know Fozzie.
Yeah. And then Michael Parkinson's like, I was just making eye contact with Fozzie the whole time. I didn't even look at Frank.
But now it's time to ask the question: how is your affair with Miss Piggy?
They
And-
shuttle this pretty quickly because Parkinson is like, and I would like to have sex with her, please.
But Kermit does say, anything you've heard about us, about hotel rooms or anything? There's nothing to any of that.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets a little bit more explicit in what's been being said about the two of them. But then, yes, Michael Parkinson introduces, quote, the most beautiful creature that I am madly in love with.
That's right.
And Piggy does come out and call out the toupee, and Michael says to her, well, if things go right, you might learn the truth about the toupee.
That's pretty good.
And it just keeps going because Piggy says, is your wife here? And he's like, she actually is sitting here in the audience. And Piggy's like, oh, right, yes. We're friends. We've talked about you. She told me you have great legs. So somehow this leads to us seeing Michael Parkinson's legs.
Oh, yeah, right.
Because Piggy says, lift him up, kid. And he pulls up his pants above the knee to show off his knee and his very tall black socks. She touches his knee. He strokes her hair.
Things are getting
He asks-
weird. Things are getting
He asks
weird.
what it's like to be a sex symbol, and she says it's a big responsibility. And they start to, he pivots a little bit to talk about Miss Piggy's personality and says, you do get a bit aggressive at times. To which she replies, your wife told me you like that.
Too far. He's going too far.
Well, and Michael doesn't stop because then he says, you have been talking to her.
Nasty, man.
So yeah, overall, this is definitely better than the Russell Hardy show appearance. And maybe it's because they had a rehearsal on the Russell Hardy show.
Yeah. Yeah. Or, I don't know. I mean, on the Wikipedia page, it says people have said Parkinson's the best British presenter of all time. So maybe you just can't compete with him, you know?
I mean, this is my only exposure to Michael Parkinson, and I do love the fact that it feels like, you know, if we were broadcasters at the same time, we would have quite the conversations about Miss Piggy.
When the camera stopped rolling, be like,
Yeah.
but now seriously.
Yeah. If Michael Parkinson was still alive and willing to be on our podcast, I feel like we'd have quite the conversation about Miss Piggy.
Yeah. He'd get so wistful.
I haven't seen her in so
The
long.
life he never, the life that could have been.
I wonder if there's footage of them 2007. And I wonder if he is like, my love, it's been 20 years since we've seen each other.
I hope so.
Well, we're still in 1978 for the next thing, which was the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade once again. This one's November 23rd, 1978. This is the same year as the Hip Hip Parade special that we watched before, where Kermit and Fozzie are talking about the parade.
Mm-hmm.
We see the Kermit balloon and the... I'm not sure what this Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade television special was like, but they cut back and forth between New York and Detroit.
You know, okay, so this is what I suspect is going on. Sometimes there's been years when I've accidentally turned on the wrong channel, and they'll be covering the parade, but they'll be like one block away, farther away from it than they should be, and and they're like looking at a really bad angle of it, and they don't get to watch any of the performances or anything like that. I suspect that's what's going on here.
That makes sense because they were not in front of Macy's. They were not on the main stretch. They were like Central Park West watching as the balloons start to take off, I think.
And I feel like the Today Show crew, at least parts of it, have been covering it for a long time. Maybe not that long, but I do think like Willard would have been there or something, you know?
Right, yeah. We've seen Willard around this time there in a much more professional manner.
Yeah, and not Linda Lavin and her husband at the time.
Oh, were they a married couple?
Uh-huh.
Because they seem to hate each other.
Oh, you think so? No.
I hate him.
There's your problem.
I just think they don't have good chemistry. And I think he seems poorly rehearsed for this job. Yeah, I just have multiple times in my notes. I hate Ron and shut up Ron.
He was only on for 45 seconds.
He made a big impression. Mostly because the first thing he says, he's like, Kermit, he's the only frog. Kermit's a he, right? He doesn't even know who Kermit is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's fucking 1978, Ron.
Yeah. And there's trivia of like, he's hosted 2 shows. The only frog to host 2 shows. Shut up.
And this is I don't know, just a few months before Linda Lavin goes to film her episode of The Muppet Show.
I wonder if she must not have known she was going to be on it yet. Maybe?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it is also worth noting that Linda Lavin just recently passed away.
Yeah.
As of recording this.
I was noticing that too.
She passed away December 29th, 2024. But yeah, Ron goes on to say, boy, is he green. Look at that mouth.
Yeah, he liked his mouth. I wonder what that was all about. The structure of the mouth.
I think Ron is I have nothing constructive to say, but I have to keep talking. It's my job.
I'm hosting the knockoff parade from a block farther away than I should be, and I have to think of something to say because we can't watch the performances. You're right.
Because the only thing he says when Big Bird shows up is, "Big Bird, you! Big Bird, you!"
Yeah, that's obnoxious.
And that's what I wrote. Shut up, Ron.
Yeah, he should shut up.
But now it's time for the last year we're discussing here this week. Again, we have a bunch more to talk about next week.
Oh, also, Linda Lavin is like, I never realized how important the balloons were to the parade. Also, shut up, Linda Lavin.
Yeah, it is 1978. Again,
Yeah.
guys, where have you been? Maybe they're not from New York. Maybe they don't watch the parade. They're like, huh, what's this thing we're hosting?
I think they've just been forced to do this, contractually obligated to do this.
But you got to do at least a little
gotta have some
research if you're
fun.
asked to host the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade.
Yeah, if me and Rachel were hosting the parade, I think we could think of more things to say than that.
You wouldn't say, wow, they got a lot of balloons here.
Can't believe it. The balloon, interesting. Yeah.
Well, on to 1979, the year of the Muppets Go Hollywood, the Muppet Movie, Muppet Show, John Denver and the Muppets at Christmas Together, Kermit hosting The Tonight Show, Big Bird going to China with Bob Hope, and the debut of Bruno the Trash Man, Telly Monster, and Elmo.
But again, what we're seeing is not.
So we did see the interview of Kermit and Peter Sissons
Uh-huh.
and the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Those two things are from 1979.
Right.
The main thing we watched that I put down as 1979 is actually from 1985, but I put it there because the exhibit started in 1979 and because I didn't watch the video before I added it to the list.
You have your reasons. Leave them alone, everybody.
I have my excuses. But you know what? Let's get Peter Sissons and Macy's out of the way.
Okay.
So Peter Sissons on June 1st, 1979. Apologies if your name is not Sissons, but that's how we're probably going to keep saying
Should
it.
be.
Kermit appears to promote the Muppet Movie. And this is kind of a weird, awkward interview.
I've never seen Kermit like this before. For one, his hands are like crossed in front of him, and they're not like.
He feels very real. Like,
yeah,
it's like a very serious tone to this. Like it's just a normal living frog interview.
yeah. It's like it's like almost like you're talking to a friend or something like that. Almost like you're talking to like somebody you don't know that well, like in a very casual way. And then the way Kermit talks is like you don't hear him talk like this ever, because there's a few things where he's like, they're like, what Duchess was he? With some Duchess or something. There's a picture of him with some royalty, and the interviewer's like, were you there? And Kermit's like, nah, because I was working. It's like, when would Kermit ever say nah because I was working? What's Jim,
I think
Jim being very Southern.
I think earlier you mentioned something like this feels maybe like this was sort of a spur of the moment thing, or we talked a bit about how maybe Jim just got pulled into this. And that is what it feels like, that maybe Jim just happened to be in the TV studio and they were like, could we record an interview with Kermit real quick? Because it doesn't seem like the guy had a lot of questions prepared, and it didn't seem like there was anything special going on.
No. Well, the Muppet Movie, I looked it up and it said that the Muppet Movie had released the day before this, that you have dated on this interview. So maybe they didn't need to ask him a lot of questions aside from just like, the Muppet Movie, right? And then he's like, yeah, I can't believe it.
We did it, I guess. Huh? Good job, us.
Yeah. But that being said, I kind of loved it. It's kind of like, there's something about this mode that he's in where I'm like, where it is like, is this this is real Kermit? This is like the little clone that they let out for one day.
It almost felt like he was on, Larry King or something to talk about something serious and bad that happened in his life.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, this is Kermit going on a talk show to talk about Fozzie passing away.
Yeah, there's
like,
no jokes. There's nothing.
No.
Yeah, he's just like, yeah. On Larry King, I think, is a good, even if it's not bad, he's just kind of like on a very sedate show where he doesn't have to goof around for once in his life.
We've got Kermit here, paying memorial to his old friend Fozzie Bear.
No, I don't.
Talking about the good old days when they used to work together.
Yeah, thanks, Larry.
If you haven't heard, yesterday, Fozzie the Bear was found dead at his home in Rhode Island.
Matt, stop. You're making me too sad.
But instead of that, he asks about Miss Piggy and the relationship, and then sort of talks about, if Kermit takes some time for himself. And Kermit says
banjo.
Yeah, he takes weekends to go out to the pond and play some banjo. And then Peter suddenly is like, thank you. And Kermit says, you're welcome. Is that it?
I think he just like sits there in silence for a little while, just like looking at the
Yeah, I was waiting for like
cameras.
Jim's head to pop up or something.
It's so
But
weird. I'm very curious what was going on here.
yeah, there's no other in our grand timeline of things we have watched. There's nothing else around that same time, like other than they were probably making the Muppet Show season 4 at that time, but there's nothing else in our timeline that they were doing like another BBC morning show or something that day,
Right.
as far as I know. So
Huh.
no clue. But the other short thing we watched from 1979 was the Amazing Thanksgiving Day Parade. Take a drink every time we say that in this episode. From November 22nd, 1979. This is the only currently available footage of the Muppets in this parade. It's 3 seconds of a Kermit balloon. But Sam, what we missed out on was other Muppets.
Oh no.
Miss Piggy rides in the parade in a Rolls Royce,
Oh.
followed by the rest of the Muppets in the Electric Mayhem bus.
Well, yeah, this was the year of the Muppet movie, huh? Damn,
Mhm.
that would have been great.
So on the bus, you had Kermit, Fozzie, Gonzo, Rowlf, Scooter, Bunsen, Beaker, the Swedish Chef, Camilla, and the Electric Mayhem, all on the bus.
All of our favorite guys were there.
And there's a photo of this on Muppet Wiki, but no footage has surfaced so far.
Huh. That seems very unlikely.
Whenever I go back and find, a full tape of the 1976 Macy's parade or whatever, I'm like, well, surely someone must have a tape of every year
Right.
of the Macy's parade.
Especially one where there is like a big promotional crossover like that for Muppet stuff.
Well, the entire thing is commercials. So you'd think,
Yeah.
I'm sure, NBC or whoever has a catalog somewhere with every Macy's Day Parade in full.
Right.
But they won't return my letters.
Huh.
So the very last thing we watched for this week, which did, I guess, officially come from 1985, is Kermit giving us a tour via Acoustic Guide around the Art of the Muppets exhibit, which we have talked about before, back when it did debut in 1979. This was the first iteration of a Jim Henson exhibit touring across the country in museums, much like you can still go and see at different museums across the country today. But this was the first time, and it seems spectacular.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and it's great to see it all laid out, and to think like, even when I saw the Muppet Babies, I was like, I would love to see those puppets. Those are great puppets.
Yeah, I immediately love this just because Kermit is a little bit of a different Kermit, because the line between Jim and Kermit in this is quite thin. There's multiple times Kermit is talking about Dark Crystal and is like, well, we made these puppets to do this. And I'm like, Kermit.
Messed up Kermit.
I don't think you were in the shop building a Skeksis.
Yeah.
But if you were, I would love to see pictures.
Yeah, and his just like sedate way of like, I like that he was talking to what was like probably a child, but the way that he's talking to this child and just like being so, I don't know, just like not being afraid to like be a little confusing and to make you go like, what are you talking about? And like really investigate the things you're looking at. Yeah, it was enchanting.
Yeah, this is one of those where we joked earlier to not watch this because it takes away from the history of our podcast. But in actuality, this is an amazing thing to watch, and I would encourage everyone to go track it down if you can.
Yeah, it's like, it's great that it exists. It's amazing that it exists.
Yeah, I think it's worth a watch because, again, like we've talked about this a few times, whenever they do a good rundown of everything the Muppets have done, whether it's Harry Belafonte or somebody else talking about it, it is nice to hear it respected and talked about in a way where, Sam and Friends gets tossed into the same conversation as Fraggle Rock and Dark Crystal.
Yeah. And the freaking Land of Gorge. The Land of Gorge, they like the Land of Gorge, they show it morph into Dark Crystal right next to it. I thought that was amazing.
Well, and Kermit even says that he was a fan of the SNL Muppets.
He's like, we always liked these guys. Throw them a bone. Wouldn't King Plubus love to hear that if he was still alive and with us today?
But he had to be killed so they could stuff him and use him in Saturday Night.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
So Junior Gorg is the first one to be discussed, and Kermit talks about how they've got the cutaway Gorg so you can see right inside of the costume. And the biggest takeaway from this for me, because we've seen a cutaway Gorg before. Jim has showed us the inside of Gorgs a couple times. In this version, the Gorg vision is weirder than I imagined.
Oh, okay.
It's almost like there's a tube from the camera in the eyeball to like the eyepiece of the performer.
Yeah.
It's almost like they have like a screen over their eye.
Right. Instead of just a
Which I
screen
thought it was
in
maybe
the suit that they...
Yeah. That's what I was imagining. Was like there's like a tiny screen in front of them, but it seems like they had like a camcorder eyepiece up to their eye.
Yeah, I wonder if that's like less confusing for your brain or something. But I also wonder why they never went back and said, did they give Big Bird this eventually, or no, they didn't.
I don't think so. I think it's always just been the monitor on the chest, or in certain public appearances, the you can see through the neck feathers.
I wonder if they ever experimented with it, and Carol was like, "No, I don't like this."
Yeah, I want my old school TV.
Yeah.
Well, then we get to see the Fraggle Rock display with a super cool interactive doozer exhibit.
God, I would have loved to see that. It looks so amazing.
I can imagine these interactive exhibits had to be stopped because the puppets just, deteriorate way faster if they're constantly moving all day, every day.
Right.
But this is one of the big moments where Kermit's talking about the doozers and saying, we had to build the puppets so we could control them this way with the remote control. And, Kermit, I don't, again, think you were there for this one.
Maybe he was.
I love the idea of Kermit being a part of the creative team on all these projects, that he's just the old timer who's, he gets the executive producer credit, but really he just walks around the shop going, good job, guys.
Oh, no. Yeah, he's useless. His little fingers.
Yeah. Kermit has no transferable skills.
His fingers don't work well enough to sew or anything like that.
He can't grab anything.
Yeah.
Then we get to see the Sam and Friends puppets, where Kermit introduces the show and says, I was one of the original Muppets, the only one who's still around.
Gruesome. Yeah, what did you do, Kermit? How did you get that?
He knows his friends are locked in a cage, and he refuses to let them out.
I like the way that in this one that he referred to them as we. Like, we're the Sam and Friends. He's like...
That's a much more wholesome version of like, oh, I remember the good times we had, me and my old pal Harry and Yorick.
I thought that was really cool.
But he does sound a little too happy to be the only remaining
The only one who's still around. Yeah. You can
suck it, Harry.
You can let the rest of them be around.
Can you have Icky Gunk or whatever living alongside Fozzie?
Moldy Hay. I'm still not really clear who Moldy Hay is.
Moldy Hay is the one that looks like Ernie.
Oh, okay. He's kind of the hillbilly looking guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't have Chicken Liver or whoever, the weird naked Alfred Hitchcock guy.
No, he's not allowed.
You can't have him around.
He's been disposed of.
But there's a Sam and Friends clip that plays in part of this that I honestly don't know if we've ever seen before. It could have been, because we watched, again, hours of commercials and things, but there's a part where Harry, Yorick, Professor Madcliffe, and Omar are on screen at the same time, and it didn't immediately look familiar to me.
Right. I agree with you there. Where Omar's kind of like presenting something. Is that right?
Yeah, he's on the TV after an SK Meats ad, and the rest of them are talking, but we don't get to hear what they're saying.
Right.
But then we see some clips of Sesame Street in other languages before seeing the Big Bird puppet and a bunch of other Sesame Street Muppets. Where Kermit gets to explain the idea of an anything Muppet. And just like, there's some Muppets that are just around and we can change them up and use them however we want.
It's crazy that somebody built Big Bird and then like hundreds more Big Birds got built. That doesn't even seem possible to me.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's not quite hundreds, but it's got to be dozens.
There's enough Big Birds that they were like, yeah, you can take this one to the museum. Huh?
I did wonder how many of these puppets are the same ones that we have seen,
like in action at other points.
Yeah. Kermit introduces Ernie as being performed by Jim Henson, and he says Jim also has quite a bit to do with what I say and do.
Yeah, and if you're a child, you might be like, what are you talking about?
I love that Bert and Ernie are posed very sweetly with their arms around each other's shoulders in this display. It's very cute.
It sure is. I like how they show Latin American Bert, and he sounds so mad. Did you catch how mad he's just like screaming at Ernie?
I mean, I will say when they showed the foreign language things, because I do not speak another language, I kind of zoned out, unfortunately, during that part.
Oh, they do look really cute.
It just reminds me that, like, in this, they're very cute with their arms around each other. And when we saw them in Seattle, they could not have been further apart in a case. So much so that I have a picture of myself between them as I stood behind the case.
They were fighting.
But he explains how they batch film Bert and Ernie segments as inserts. That's one of those moments that it felt like Jim found something interesting.
That's what I was gonna say,
and he didn't necessarily care if a kid did.
Yep. I don't think anybody cares, probably.
Show off a scale model of how Kermit rides a bike.
That was pretty sweet.
Yeah. And I like seeing that, which switches over to a tape of Jim discussing how Kermit rides a bike, which was kind of weird to have Kermit introducing a tape from Jim, basically saying something that Kermit could have just said.
Yeah. This is honestly one of the best YouTube videos I've ever watched in my entire life. This is so well done.
Yeah, no, I was extremely happy when I came across this one. We get to see Emmett and Ma Otter in their rowboat. There is an interactive rowing display that you just push a button and they start rowing.
I was worried about his little arms wearing out.
If you just walk over, push the button, and his arms don't move, but his shoulders are just like...
Or you push the button and one of his arms just like pops off. Like, oh God.
Just starts going wildly in all directions. Well, the River Bottom Nightmare gang is also there. Kermit says they're deliberately more Muppety than Emmett and his friends, which I had never considered.
I never put that together either, yeah.
But it's true when you look at, all the like river creatures or whatever. They are much more animal-y than the snake and the lizard and the fish.
Well, yeah, especially like the weasel is just kind of like a sock puppet in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they have the cartoon eyes too.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
And Kermit Jim explains about how they put hot glue dots to make the scaly look of the lizard and the snake. And then we get into the Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy room, which is a bunch of the other Muppet Show Muppets. But they show some clips throughout this of Muppets and Men, which all the clips they're showing were on display in the exhibit, like on television screens as you walked around. But the guy who edited this video together
matched those clips to actual clips from the stuff.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, it seems like a thing that would have been released on VHS as a commemorative keepsake of the exhibit.
Yeah, like you could have bought it in the gift store or the museum that you were at.
Mm-hmm. But it's just one man's labor of love. So we get to see the Muppet Babies puppets also on display before looking at the touch wall, which is a collage of materials that go into making the Muppets that you can walk up and just touch all the foam and the eyeballs and the noses and everything.
Jim mentions the music video, the MTV music video the Muppet Babies are in. Mm-hmm. Like, don't talk about that, Jim. Nobody needs to know about that.
Yeah, Kermit's like, there was a real cool dude at the end of that music video. I don't know his name, but his sunglasses and flippers were really cool.
He is pretty hip.
One of my favorite parts of this is the Pigs in Space display that they have, where they have cardboard cutouts of the performers, like Jim and Jerry and Frank, underneath the actual real puppets. Yeah. So it shows you what it would look like to be on set, seeing these guys puppeteer the puppets. I just thought that was not ahead of its time necessarily, but it felt like something that maybe people weren't naturally appreciating at the time, or like on the lookout for, and just maybe didn't even realize they wanted. But when you see it and you get to see how this actually works, it's sort of like when you see Carol Spinney performing Big Bird for the first time and you're like, holy shit, how can a person even do that? I'm sure for some people it sort of ruins the magic or whatever, but I think that is the kind of stuff I would want to see.
This isn't something you can still see somewhere, is it?
Not that I remember. I don't remember seeing anything like this. Definitely not when I was just in New York, but I don't remember this at the Seattle exhibit either. There's a moonscape in a video studio that lets people play with the puppets. There is something similar to this that still is part of the Jim exhibit that tours around, but it's actually, you get like a little froggy-looking puppet playing the banjo, and you get to sing along to one of the songs from Sam and Friends.
Right.
And it records like a quick 5-second clip of you doing it, and you get to watch it back to see how you did.
But not to this extent. The people doing the puppets are bad too. They're bad at
it. So he explains the challenges during this part of puppeteering while paying attention to a monitor and all this stuff. And I can confirm it's hard.
Yeah, it is. The backwards thing can get tricky sometimes.
Yeah, I think we have it easy when we puppeteer on SciShow Kids. We are typically looking at one person in a scene.
Right.
And we don't have to usually enter or exit the scene.
Yeah, we're not walking around or anything like that.
So we're pretty much just keeping the eye line straight.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have not watched Sam and I Puppeteer on SciShow Kids, go check it out.
It's fun. I love doing
Sam
it.
plays a character named Sam. He's a bat. And I perform Webb the duck. I play half of a pair of twin ducks, Bill and Webb, and I am often very mean to Bill as Webb because we are supposed to be
scream at each other,
arguing with each other a lot. But it's a lot of fun.
It feels good to be mean to somebody as a cute guy.
I meant more just the puppeteering in general was fun.
Oh, okay.
But yes, the being mean and squabbling as a duck can be fun. And my favorite thing about that is I have shared clips of my puppeteering Webb with multiple people, including my wife, who did not realize I was also doing the voice.
Oh, yeah, you do a great Doug voice.
But I was like, oh, yeah, I'm doing the puppeteering. And my wife was like, which one? And I was like, the one that sounds like me. And she's like, neither of them sound like you.
Wow. Fooled your own wife.
I did.
You could call her and call her on the phone and be like,
I think now, if I was like, hey, honey, how's it going? She'd be like, oh, clearly, hello. This is weird.
You
Stop
can call
it.
her on the phone and steal her credit card number or something.
Well, wrapping up the Art of the Muppets, we get the SNL room where Kermit talks about making the puppets a little different, using eyes from a taxidermist instead of the cartoony eyes. And he does say, the rest of us have always loved these guys.
Yeah, that's really sweet of him to say. Gracious.
Especially the one with the big boobs.
Yeah, that's the one he meant.
But the last thing we get for about the last 6 minutes of this, honestly, is a huge focus on Dark Crystal.
I did write, he's just going on and on about Dark Crystal, which was a pretty old movie at this point. Right? Not old, but like
a few years. Yeah. But I guess maybe they didn't have enough to talk about from Muppets Take Manhattan, like prop-wise, because they didn't have to build that much for it. They just shot everything on sets. So the fact that they built everything for Dark Crystal, they probably have just so many more props to show off.
They needed it to be 30 minutes too. So they're like, what have you talked about the cosmology of the Dark Crystal? Though you didn't go into this in depth into anything else we talked about at
They start giving the Kermit the stretch sign while they're in the voiceover studio. It's like, oh, we are a few minutes short here. Yeah. What more do you have to say about the Dark Crystal, Jim?
What if this had been the one where he went into the cosmology of the Muppet Show and he was like, the Muppet Show, just definitively, and I can confirm this here, takes place in New York. All the Muppets live together in a big house.
This is where it's been hiding this whole time. Is in the last 5 minutes of an audio tour from the 1980s where Jim's just like, all right, I got a vamp. What do I got? Yeah. No one else will ever hear this. This is my last statement I will ever make on Kermit and Miss Piggy. I will definitively tell you what Gonzo is.
Yes, they were secretly married in a private ceremony in 1979.
They had it annulled. They don't actually speak outside of when they appear on camera. But that is the last thing we watched this week.
Yeah, and then he's like, I'll tell you what Gonzo is, but do you ever think and ask yourself, what's Scooter? Why isn't anybody asking the right questions?
The real question every Muppet fan should be asking themselves is, what the hell is Scooter?
Oh, and he tells you where the Muppet Babies live and what that's all about. And he tells you where Skeeter was the whole time when they're growing up. Yeah.
He tells you exactly what Nanny looks like.
Yes, yeah.
But unfortunately, that is not what happens. It just kind of wraps up with a bunch of Dark Crystal stuff.
So much. These are the pod people. These are the jars they eat out of. This is a medallion.
Look at that fucking jar.
Shut up. Bro.
But that is it for this week and part 1 of our catch-up episode. Which means that now, Sam, I must ask you, what non-Muppet thing did you watch this week?
Did I? I don't know.
Do you want to be unprecedented and I can go first?
Yeah, you go first.
All right. So, number 1, I tried replaying or restarting Star Wars Outlaws for the PS5.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if it's for me, Sam.
I forgot you got that and then never talked about it really, I don't think.
It's just not my kind of fun.
Okay.
Like I in the first 20 minutes of the game, I'm just not having fun. It doesn't feel like Star Wars. It doesn't feel fun. It's kind of a bummer. I don't know if I'll even go back to it. We'll see. But the fun, good thing I watched this week that I would recommend is the first few episodes of A Man on the Inside.
Oh, I don't know what
which
that
is,
even is.
it's a new Ted Danson Netflix show. It's like an 8-part
Oh.
miniseries
Uh-huh.
show from the guy who did The Good Place, Michael Schur, who also is on a bunch of other stuff.
Right.
But yeah, it's good. It's fun. It's Ted Danson being very charming. And it's got a lot of other good people from like Brooklyn Nine-Nine and other shows in there. So what'd you watch?
I watched Juror Number 2. You know, it's a movie.
I've heard of it. I have actually no idea what it is.
Clint Eastwood movie. It's about well, I won't. It's very spoilerable, so I won't tell you too much.
But it's the Nicholas Hoult movie,
yes,
right?
Nicholas Hoult
Okay.
movie. He's a juror. He gets jury duty. There's a twist. Everybody sounds like they're a 98-year-old man who's very gruff, and they're just like, "This is what justice means."
Was it Clint Eastwood just giving to me line readings? He's like, "Yeah, I read it like this. Don't open your teeth."
Kind of sounds. I mean, yes, they're just like, this is distinctly a movie that an extremely old man made, and you can tell just like, not that it's poorly made or anything. It's just like, you goofy ass old man. But it's a very well regarded movie, but I kind of hated it a little bit.
Wow.
For some reason, people really love it, but I thought it was just like really wooden and strange, and like it has a good. Like the twist is interesting. It feels like it would have been like a really good episode of The Twilight Zone, or a really good not that there's like sci-fi stuff, but there's just like this very old school twist to it, where it's like, if this movie was black and white and made in 1956 or whatever, this would be like one of the best movies of all time. But instead it's made now, and it's kind of goofy looking. And it has very like, this is how young people talk. I'm 98 years old. I don't understand how young people talk. So yeah, I watched that. I played Super Mario Party Jamboree, the new Mario Party.
All right. Yeah.
Just like just with some friends. And sometimes you play Mario Party and you have the most fun you've ever had in your entire life, and then you don't play Mario Party again for like a decade. And I think it's been like 7 years since the last time I played Mario Party, and I was like, fuck yeah, Mario Party rules. And then we played it this weekend. I was like, hell yeah, I love Mario Party. Probably won't play Mario Party for 10 more years, but
yeah,
if you like Mario Party, I did have a really good time with it. It has a bunch of mini games, and there's this one where you're like dancing bit. It's like doing stuff to the beat, like you're like chopping vegetables and stuff. You're not dancing, but you're like chopping vegetables. You're like scooping an ice cream, and there's 4 people, and you all have to do it like to the beat. And it was really fun. We played it for like ever, and it's like a side mode of this game for some reason. So yeah, that's what I did. That's all.
Nice. I was like waiting for you to ask me, and I forgot that we switched it up. You know, I already
just
went.
Keep going back and forth forever, Matt. What about you?
I didn't do anything else. That's all I watched was Man on the Inside. Well, then we mentioned it a little bit, but next week is the continuation of us catching up on the things we have missed. And yeah, I gotta say, it is mostly Uncle Traveling Matt postcards, but it is a bunch of other stuff from 1980 to 1986. Including Uncle Traveling Matt postcards. Also, Sam, some more Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade clips.
Well. Me and my old friend, the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Are any of them 3 seconds long?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think we've got, some like 3-minute clips.
Okay.
There is a 48-second clip, I know, from a parade. So there is some short stuff. But there's also an AFI lecture clip of Jim Henson talking about the Muppets. There is a news report on the Muppets Take Manhattan. There is Piggy at the PBS Gala of the Stars in 1983.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, we've got a sadder one, but a news report about the Sesame Street episode Goodbye, Mr. Hooper.
Oh.
Along with literally, how many are there?
Oh, no. I don't think I want to know.
Ooh, at least 30.
Matt.
35?
What is wrong with you? Don't laugh like that.
I didn't do it. They did it.
Don't laugh like that.
Well, we got to watch like 35 or 40 Uncle Traveling Matt postcards.
That's disgusting. Remember when you asked me at the beginning how I was doing, and you said,
yeah,
do you feel insane? I didn't feel insane at the time. I do feel a little bit more insane now.
I would recommend spacing them out.
Okay.
Maybe a couple a day.
I know I won't, but I'll say okay.
No, you'll watch them all at 11:30 p.m. Saturday night.
I know I will. I'm sorry.
I mean, as long as you show up Sunday morning to talk about them, that's all we need.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Well, we got to thank our friend Tuna for making the music for this podcast and Cassie Wilson for singing our theme song. Don't forget to go to the newly revamped commitment.com for all your commitment needs. By the time you're hearing this, should have every episode of Commitment up there for your listening pleasure. And while you're listening to this podcast, don't forget to rate and review it on your podcast platform of choice. If you're on Apple Podcasts, you can leave a nice review like this recent one. That was a 5-star review from Salty Shaylin. Says, prior Muppet knowledge unnecessary to have a good time. I honestly had no clue what to expect going into this podcast besides Sam Schultz and Muppets, which was more than enough to get me started on listening.
Hey.
I was worried I wouldn't actually get very much out of the podcast as a person who has limited Muppet experience, but I have found this podcast to be absolutely hilarious, and I've been devouring my way through the back catalog and loving every minute.
Well, I have similar cultural cachet as the Muppets.
At least with Salty Shaylin you do.
Uh-huh.
And then a much shorter review from the end of last year just said, fantastic. This is my comfort podcast.
Oh, that's nice. I love a
Yeah.
comfort podcast.
Happy to be your comfort podcast. If you want to reach out, you can email us at mail@commitment.com, or you can follow this podcast everywhere on social media at commitmentpod. And you can also follow me at Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And as always, keep believing.
Keep pretending.